Right, mate. Are you happy just to crack straight on with it, or do you want to chat between us first, or just crack on?
You know where we need to start.
Crack on. Oh, what you got, Nookie Brown? Nice.
I tried to get some of that. Is it Barnard Castle or whatever it's called?
Right.
Joe, Brewdog's done a special beer.
All right.
Yeah, it's because of him obviously going testing his eyesight at the castle. What's he called now?
Oh, blimey, yeah. The health, is it the health guy? Was it a health secretary?
No, what's he called now? Dominic Cummins. Yeah, he went to I think it's Barnard Castle.
It
or
is
Barnard
Barnard,
Castle or something. But the label on the beer actually goes out of focus as he goes down. But like, it's sold out instantly. Yeah, there's none left.
Genius.
Yeah.
I was trying to. Well, Slange, here's to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, this week we have Phil Dranfield, who is the person behind PaintNation, that do all the custom helmets and custom designs on bikes and things like that. So we're going to have a little chat. Welcome, Phil.
Welcome.
Here's to you.
Good to speak to you at last. Yeah,
definitely. We've been chatting for a wee while on Instagram, haven't we?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I mean, tell folks a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Where'd you come from?
So, obviously, I set up PaintNation, which was when I set it up, I never expected it to be what it is now.
Right.
But it's it was really done because I wanted to pick up and drop off my kids from school and work for myself for once. So that's how it started, and then I don't know, word just spread. But I don't, there's I'm amazed at kind of the impact it's had since I set up. Yeah.
What did you do before then? Before helmets?
It's a really strange story how I kind of got into it. I wanted to be a car designer originally.
Right.
And I went to Huddersfield Uni doing transport design, and then we had a lecture off these three guys from Jaguar, and only one had gone through the same course that we were on. So I was like, well, there's other routes into this, and the other routes I'm not going to have to compete with all these people. So I decided to get a job in a body shop so I could learn the construction of a car better. And then I ended up, I got put on a paint apprenticeship with them, and it stuck. I loved how kind of precise you had to be with it all.
Yeah.
And then the apprenticeship, the company that did the training for me, then asked me if I'd be a tutor pretty much straight after.
Wow. And
I started teaching. So I did 5 years in a body shop, then 6 years teaching at a training centre, and then decided I was doing some helmets as a hobby and for a bit of fun. And then, it took off from there, really.
So how long ago was that then? How long ago did you set up PaintNation?
I think it's 7 years ago now.
Wow. Do you know, 7 years isn't that long?
That's when I went full time with it.
Yeah, when you look at your sort of client base, and you've done people like Tom Sykes, McGuinness, all the big names. You've done all their lids, so 7 years is not bad to get to that level.
Yeah, I kind of when I started doing it, I knew that people wouldn't trust you with their crash helmets because they'd think, it's not going to be safe and so on. So I approached Joey in the race paddock and I said, if you have a look at my work, would you kind of approve it and say it's up to standard?
Yeah.
And they very kindly sent me some helmets to paint to prove my quality, and they happened to be Steve Brogan's helmets.
Right.
So I did these two helmets, sent them off, they were happy with them, and then they got back in touch and went, would you do us 2 more for Simon Andrews?
Wow.
So that was like in the first year of going full time with it, and setting it up as a proper business, and it straight away led into that, and I guess they were happy with what I was doing, and it rolled on. And I worked for Shoei ever since the start, really.
Wow.
And that then branches into loads of other stuff, because if a rider leaves Shoei and goes to another manufacturer, they then come to you still and say, well, can you do our helmets?
Yeah.
Even though I'm with so and so. So it grows quite quickly, because if a rider would leave to go to Premier, say, and Shoei would then sponsor another rider and might bring that to you and say, right, we've got a new person we want you to do. So it just gets like, it just grew and grew.
Wow. So who's there now then with painting? Is it just you, or do you have other painters?
I had a guy working for me called Rich, who was really, really good, and he used to work at Superbike Factory, and when I was teaching paintwork, he was actually one of my students for a bit. So he started working for us for a bit, doing like part-time, and then it is really hard during those early months when you're running up to the start of the season, and it just was it wasn't suiting Rich so much. So I was like, right, well, I'm going to go it alone, and that was when did I start? So I went back to doing it on my own in 2018, I think it was.
Right.
Yeah, and that was I think I just about managed to do the same amount of race helmets in that year that I'd done when I had Rich, but only just.
Blimey. It must get absolutely mental, and the build up to the race season and stuff, it just must be, it must be 24/7 more or less, is it?
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, like, even at the minute, because the racing's about to start, like, probably for the last few weeks I've been going to bed at about 4 o'clock in the morning.
God, seriously.
And then get up at about 8 o'clock, have breakfast, be back in the workshop by 9, and then do like a 9 till 4.
Yeah.
And then back, and then in the evening it's about, I fall asleep with the kids when I'm putting them to bed. So that's my like sleep. And then I wake up with them like in their room on the floor.
Yeah.
And I carry the littlest one into his bedroom, and then I come back out and carry on working, which is normally about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then I'll go through till 4 o'clock again.
God, man.
And then I try and have one day off a week for the family day.
Yeah. One day off, fly me, mate.
Yeah.
It's more, you know how all this works anyway. We get questions posted up on the social media, so that they're bound to ask what I'm thinking at the moment and what I want to ask. So shall we just fire on into the questions, and then
go for
we'll
it.
see where that takes us, because that'll take us down all sorts of different paths anyway. Okay, first off, folks, we always start with the Patreon lot, with the clans folk, so we'll start there. If you've not checked out Patreon yet, please feel free, patreon.com/TeapotOne. Right, first one is Motorbike Tourer, Andy Bourne. Can you ask Phil if you think the effects of what's happening at the moment will severely affect racing, money and sponsors? Oh, blimey, straight in there.
Yeah, I think so, because straight away there's already been some of the painters who I talk to, and some of the stuff you start to get a gist of what's going on.
Yeah.
And some of the riders have been asking for sponsors to be put on top of the clear coat on the helmets, because they can be quickly changed if a sponsor pulls out.
Yeah.
You can change it, and sometimes that works anyway. So especially with the road races, they might have a different sponsor for the Northwest 200 that they would to the TT, and they might get additional sponsors for the TT. So it's always worth, with the road guys, to kind of switch and change a little bit anyway.
Right.
The BSB guys, generally, obviously, a sponsor will be on for the season, and that runs right through. But you just never know with sponsors, really. They can be there 1 minute and gone the next. It depends. But I've got to say, there is loyal sponsors for each rider, and we owe a lot to them to see, because we can see that rider racing still. There's when a rider loses a ride, and the loyal sponsors sometimes will just keep paying them and keep them on board. Know. So it's quite, like James Ellison's got SRS, which is a really loyal sponsor of his, and they will look after him. It's a partnership more than it's about seeing results and stuff like that. So
yeah, definitely. So in terms of like this season, obviously everything's been on hold for so long, but you know, you've said there that you've been massively busy for the last couple of weeks. What sort of lead up time do you normally get given then for a design for a helmet? So if you take COVID out the equation, for a normal race season, when do they come to you and say, right, we need this design, or we would like this helmet with these sponsors? How much time do they give you? What sort of lead up time is there?
It can vary quite a lot, actually. It depends on who is supplying the helmets normally. So sometimes the riders come through a helmet distributor or manufacturer, and you don't necessarily who you're working with. You're going to agree to do their work, and they'll send you them riders, and they normally then put you in touch with the rider. Sometimes you get the rider comes to you direct, and they will organise the paintwork, tell you who the sponsors are, send you the helmets, and they're normally the first ones to come through. Right. The bigger companies generally try to get everyone who they're going to sponsor together first before they send them out. I think the latest I've had helmets through for a race season is like mid-February.
All right.
Which is pretty late. Really, you want to have stuff arriving start of January at the latest, really. Okay. And you want to kind of, sometimes if it's a returning rider, in December they'll be onto you going, right, what we're going to do next year, or organising kind of designs and changes you want to make and stuff like that.
Yeah. So what's the typical length?
And that's
So go on.
Go on.
I know
that's like some of the fun bit is evolving the design each time.
Yeah. It must be, like when you have repeat customers coming back to you with the racers. Obviously, there must be certain racers have recurring themes, don't they? McGuinness, obviously, he's always got the pint glass, hasn't he? The Guinness. So it must be quite cool that you've always got little things that you have to keep in the design, but then you want to tweak the design every year, don't you? And I suppose you must want a different angle or something fresh every season.
I think for me, I always try and do exactly what they want. Right. Because if you try and put your own spin on it too much, you just end up with them saying, I don't like it. You know, and that's the worst thing. You just, especially when you've put hours and hours of work into something, you want them to be happy with it. So it's just soul destroying if they turn around and go, I don't like it. So the best thing to do is just do what they like, and sometimes it takes a bit of testing the water. Joe, send them a design and see what comes back. I think the best ones are when they give you a bit of guidance and then let you go with it. Yeah. Because you know you've got the direction, you know they're going to be happy with, but you put your work into how to make it look good. If someone's too kind of specific as to what they want, it doesn't always work. So then you're struggling to make their idea fit into a design and onto a helmet. Yeah. And then if they don't give you any guidance, they go, just do whatever, it'll be great. And then sometimes they go, well, actually, yeah. But most of the time, actually, the more I've built a relationship with a rider and they start to trust you to just do anything, you get that click between you. And some riders you definitely click with more than others. So they know your style and they know what you're going to do, and it all works. But and some it's just a bit more like, no, I don't quite like that, and you kind of keep chipping away at it until you find something. There's
a natural question there for me to ask, but I think I've seen it in some of the questions coming up, so we'll wait for that. Paul Jai. Question: as I get older, I seem to be getting more clumsy. I once knocked a tin of paint off the ladder, tried to catch it and punched out the window and painted the conservatory roof. Have you ever dropped a freshly painted lid? If not, what's your most memorable failure with a project?
I've got years of work to try and draw through now.
There must be one that was just an utter nightmare. You I don't know, you dropped the lid.
I mean, when you, especially like in the early days when you're trying to refine the process, you can have little paint issues. So low adhesion's a typical one. If you've put a base colour on and then you mask out part of the design and you'll put more detail, you might even mask some more layers and put more on, and you remove all the masking at the end.
Yeah.
And if it takes that first layer off with it because the adhesion wasn't enough, you're back to start. So that's one that you get until you kind of get your process nailed and you know exactly what's going to work and what isn't. And it was strange because painting a helmet's quite different to even painting a car. The preparation's different because helmet paint surfaces are a lot harder.
Right.
It's a lot harder paint finish than what you would get on a car.
Okay.
So when you think you're sanding it to create a key, it's just not even touching it. You have to go a few grades coarser and try and cut into the paint to get.
I was going to ask. I wasn't sure if you had to do that with a helmet. You know, you had to key this off. Bloody hell! So you actually, and then how do you get the finished sort of smooth surface at the end of it? Is it just putting a clear coat over the top? Is that what smoothens everything out?
Yeah, but you're depending on the helmet. Your clear coat. When I apply a clear coat, I do 2 coats. So I put a coat on, let it flash off, put another coat on, bake it, and then I'll flat that down, and then 2 more coats, bake it, and then either flat and polish, or give it another flat and another 2 coats until everything's starting to smooth off. And that's all dependent on budget as well. So if it's a race helmet and it's in a rush, you don't always have that luxury of putting 6 coats on. It might just be 2 coats. So the thickness of the lacquer smooths off any edges, Joe, and joined with smoothing that down with some sanding paper, it starts really kind of smoothing the whole shell off.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
So it's
a lot of work.
I bet it is, man. Yeah, I've watched your time lapse videos that you do on your YouTube channel of the different helmets, and it's just it's crazy. I mean, that can't be the entire process that's there anyway.
Oh no. Yeah, there's loads missing, loads and loads missing,
and it just looks so intricate. You know, you're doing loads and loads and loads of masking, then a tiny bit of paint, and then loads and loads and loads and loads of masking.
Yeah. It's so a lot of the time I miss the masking out on those videos because the masking is one of the longest processes.
Right.
You'll literally be putting a piece of tape on, measuring it against the other side, and then maybe taking it off and putting it on, and off and on until you get it just perfectly lined up. If you get a brand new helmet, take it to bits, take all the vents off, prepare the surface, mask it out, and then if you literally then just unmasked it and built it back up, you'd be looking at close to a full day's work.
Jeez.
Just to do that.
Bloody hell.
So by the time you take, so that's your Monday morning gone stripping it down, and it's your Friday afternoon gone building it up, plus it normally takes me about an hour or so to take all the photographs and videos of it spinning at the end. And so you're talking, if you're doing an individual helmet that's quite detailed, it is a Monday to Friday job.
I was going to say, so do you give yourself, is a week basically your standard turnaround for a custom lid? You want to be doing it within a week, really. And I mean, obviously everything depends on budget. So if someone wants something that's got a lot of freehand like airbrushing on it, or a lot of pinstriping, then it's going to take longer, but then that reflects in the price. So, you know, everyone says how much is it for a custom helmet, and it's like, well, how long's a piece of string? How far do you want to go with it? So what would it start at then?
Private, to be honest, I'm around £300 upwards for a private helmet. But that could be something as simple as like a Viper stripe over it. You know, and I could turn one of those around really quick. Especially if it's a plain white. That's like if it was a plain white helmet and you want a stripe, then it's strip down, mask out, paint it, unmask, lacquer it. Lacquer it, unmask it, build it up, and off it goes. You know, and because you've only put one strip of paint on, you haven't got all those ridges and levels to flat. It's all a lot smoother and quicker, and and one of the things I focused on was my process that I used to do them, and making that as quick as I can possibly make it.
Okay.
So I work with a paint company called Leckler, and between us and them, we kind of developed a process that works really, really well and is really quick.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
Your YouTube channel, folks, I'll put links down below if you want to go and check out Phil's channel, but it's just called PaintNation, isn't it? That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, PaintNation, yeah.
Yeah, so if you just go on YouTube and search PaintNation, you'll find it, and it's well worth checking out.
To be honest, I only started the YouTube because riders were like going, I crashed. Can I have another helmet in a couple of days? And I'm like going, they don't realise it's not easy to understand how much work went into it. So I thought, well, if I video it and time lapse it, they're going to understand. So that's why it started, was just so every customer could kind of see what was going into their helmets. Yeah. And then I did not expect it to kind of what happened to happen. I think I started doing it at just the right time. Yeah. Because there wasn't many people videoing helmet paintwork, and now there seems to be loads now.
There there definitely are a lot of them out there, but yours is doing well.
yeah, I got in early.
Yeah, I wish I had. Blimey, crikey. Right, next one, David Hemmings. What's your proudest piece of work and why?
I'd probably say, so my proudest, I don't know whether you call it a piece of work, but I suppose it is. It was actually, I did a helmet for Lee Johnston that was, his dad was diagnosed with cancer, and he was quite ill. And we did a colour changing helmet, so it was his usual pink helmet, but it had this black paint over the top that changed colour when it got hot. And I delivered it to Scarborough, to Oliver's Mount, and his dad was there. And what we'd done is we put a picture of him and his dad on the back in black, so as it warmed up, the picture appeared. And Lee got this helmet, and he was over the moon with it. He knew exactly what was going to happen, so he gets his heat gun. I've got it on video, actually. It's on the video of the helmet, but he heat guns the back of the helmet, and this picture appears, and you can just see in the video Lee's dad puts his arm around Lee. And that's my proudest moment to do with anything to do with helmets. Yeah,
mate, that's mega.
By a long, long way.
Yeah. That is mega.
Yeah, it's nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good question, David. Good question. David Hemmings, he's got a second part to his question. He says, do you do the decorating at home?
Do you know what? I tried wallpapering for the first time. I just can't cope with it. The walls aren't flat enough. The paper doesn't bend. It just isn't good enough.
It's just, I know. Yeah.
It's just horrible. I'd rather not. I said to the missus, I said, I'm only going to be happy with this when I stop looking at it, which is going to be like months down the line, and I'm just like,
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, at the moment, I just can't. I can't look at it. It just does my head in.
You tend to find that, don't you? Like my wife's cousin, her husband is a builder, and he's a really good builder. He's done a load of work for us here, but she goes crazy because everyone tells her how good a builder he is, yet she's like, well, at my house he never finishes a single job, you know. He never he starts something and then he's off and working or fishing or so the last thing he wants to do on his day off is work around the house.
I think I've got I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got 4 helmets that I've got lined up for myself to do little projects on. Yeah. And I've had them for years. Just can't get around to them. I've just finished one that I did myself a Mugen Lee Johnston helmet, because the Mugen stuff's come to an end now, Joe, with the TT0 stopping. Yeah. And Lee Johnston's was the first one I ever did, and I've got a good connection with Lee. And when Lee had his done, he went over to test ride the bike in Japan, and he's got a picture of Mr. Honda-san sat there with his helmet and a big grin on his face. Yeah. And that, I suppose that was one of a proud moment. So when I was thinking, what should I do with this Arai helmet I had, I thought I'll paint it up as one of them.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah, I just need to get Lee's scribble on it when it's done.
Talking of the TT, you've got quite a rich family racing pedigree, don't you?
Well, I wouldn't say it's rich. My brother did a lot of, like, when I was growing up, he was obsessed with racing. In fact, my whole family's into bikes. My dad's had classic bikes ever since Joe. since the 60s, I guess it was. I don't know.
Right.
And then he met my mum, and my mum had bikes, and they've had classic Nortons. My mum's still got a Norton 350, I think she's got, and a Honda K4 race bike, which she bought me for my brother to ride.
Right.
And then obviously my oldest brother got into it, and he started off circuit racing, got his licenses, and then found he was quite good at the road stuff, so he was racing at Scarborough quite a lot, and he's done the Manx twice now.
Right.
But yeah, the thing with racing that it's hard to appreciate from a spectator point of view is literally how much money they put on the line to go racing the races.
Yeah.
You know, remortgaging houses because you think your son's got a chance at getting a good ride or something like that. It's a big commitment.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like putting them through university in a way. You know?
Yeah.
So
I chatted on the podcast about this before. I've had some friends that just got into the bare bottom rung of amateur racing. You know, the no limits rookie cup type thing, and even that they were spending $1,000 a weekend easy just on tyres and bits and bobs. And you're like, it's £1,000 a weekend. They're not, and you're not getting anything back from that. And this is just a hobby.
Yeah,
I think they managed about nearly 3 seasons, and then they were like, right, enough, too much.
yeah. It does take a lot, and that's where those loyal sponsors come in.
Absolutely,
because they'll support the riders, and in some case the sponsor is helping the rider pay for the rides, because a lot of the rides, the actual rider has to pay for that ride. That's right. Yeah, they don't get given it. So
that's crazy, isn't it? A lot of people don't realise that. It's really only the top echelon that make any kind of money. Everyone, even in MotoGP, a lot of the riders are paying to take that ride, aren't they? It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, with that's one of the things. Have you ever heard of the Simon Andrews Fund that got set up after he died? So that was focused on riders who'd only just made it their living. Obviously living on a shoestring, but they're getting paid to race for once, and then if they have an injury and they're out for a few rounds, the money stops. So it was a way of helping get them fit and rehabilitate them, but also just support them into getting back out racing again. So.
Brilliant thing to do. Right, next question we got here, Ollie Rye. If this is quite a good one, I've just sort of pre-read it. If you had to choose to live without one of your 5 senses, which one would you give up?
I'd probably say sense of smell, because with the amount of solvents and things that I've been exposed to over the years, it's probably a bit damaged anyway.
That's a good call. Again, yeah.
My hearing's probably a bit damaged as well from 2 strokes.
You what?
My hearing's probably a bit.
It's an old joke.
No way! I can't believe I fell for that.
Oh, sorry about that. So
have you ever ridden any 2 strokes then?
No, I don't think I have. No. No, I've never ridden a 2. Oh no, did I? No, that was a 4-stroke. I did a bit of off-roading down in southern Spain with Toro. And I thought, was that a 2-stroke? No, they were 4 strokes I was on there. No, I've never ridden them. No. I've been around them.
The funny thing with a 2-stroke is you don't hear them coming.
Do you not?
They don't. There's no real volume to them when they're coming towards you. It's all once it goes past you.
Right.
So there's a funny clip on a film called Road Racers, which was about Joey Dunlop when he was back in Ireland, and he was just about to go to the TT and stuff. And there's a clip where Mervyn Robinson, I think it is, goes down his country lane. It's like it's shot across a field full of sheep, and you just see this bike go flying past, and it's only once it's passed they all decide to then scatter because the volume just hits you. But it's there's a few good clips of Bruce Anstey on the 500 at the Manx,
right,
and you can hear it on that. You just don't quite hear them coming. A little bit, but not like when it's gone past and it's like a banshee wail once it's gone past.
Yeah, I was all before my time. The old 2. I got into biking really late. I was 34, I think. Yeah, about 34. 2008, 32 is when I got into biking. So I sort of missed that golden era there with the 2-stroke, 500 2-strokes in the MotoGP and everything like that. So. It was.
Do you still wind your window down in the car when one goes past it?
It's the smell. I love the smell of them. Yeah, it's phenomenal. A lot of my mates all grew up with bikes, and they were always going on about 2-strokes, and I was just like, well, four-stroke's obviously going to be better, isn't it? And then you see one and smell it, and you're like, that thing's alive.
Yeah. And the way the power kicks in as well.
Yeah. Cool. All right, for me, if I had to lose a sense, probably smell. But then smell's connected to your taste and everything as well, isn't it? And you might not guess, but I like my food, and not being able to. But then you want to hear, you want to see, you want to touch. Yeah, I suppose it would have to be smell, wouldn't it? It'd have to be smell. Yeah. That'll be the one for me as well, then, Ollie, I think. Brian Jenks, I think. Well, we kind of covered a little bit of this. What made you get into helmet design and airbrushing? Well, we kind of covered that-ish, I suppose, at the start, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, it started as a hobby when I was teaching, and then it was just an opportunity to work for myself without having to have a big workshop. And the thing I find when I was painting cars was the better the car repair I did, and the better a paint job I did, the less people noticed it. So if someone noticed it, you'd done a bad job. Right. Where now, the better a job I do, the more it gets noticed.
That's a good point, that. Didn't even think of that,
it's good.
Oh, he's got a second part of his question here. I like this one. If you could do any design for me, for Bruce, what would it be?
I don't know,
It's one of those ones. It's up to you.
Would you theme it around a globe-style teapot, maybe, or something like that?
Don't blame me, yeah. There's so much you could tie in now, isn't there? Yeah, the world thing. So I had have I got it in here? No, I haven't got it in here. My helmet that I took on my world trip, I had that custom painted.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And I was that nightmare. Well, I wasn't a nightmare punter, but I basically went, I haven't got a clue, fill your boots. And he came back with like the world map in the back, and it was cool. It was cool what he did with it.
I did one like that for Lyndon Poskett.
Did you?
He was doing, I think he was doing one of the last legs where he was going down Africa, and then he was going to come home after that, I think. We put the world map on it, and we had the route that he'd taken. He's been all over the place, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? I love his series, the YouTube series is just phenomenal. Races to Places.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping to get. Do you know Dario that does a lot of his filming and editing?
Yeah, over in the Isle of Man.
That's it. Yeah. I'm hoping to get him on the podcast. Actually, if all goes well, that would be great to get him on and have a chat.
I bet he'll have some good stories from the Dakar.
I bet he seems a really nice lad. Yeah, he seems a bit of a boy.
Yeah.
He's knackered now. He's got a young kiddie, I think, hasn't he? So he's he's doing the dad thing.
I watch all the. I think I'm like on my third way around the world on YouTube around the world videos now.
Oh yeah,
that's how I'm doing it. I'm doing it in YouTube series.
There are so many people that have like found my channel over lockdown. So I think people must have just been bored and typing in world trips or travel the world and stuff. And the amount of people that have just found it, which is awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah. But it's all these people coming across and going, I didn't know anything about this, and I
was actually thinking when we were going to do this, I was like, just make sure I don't sit here asking you loads of questions about your channel, because there's so many things I could
feel free.
Watching it.
It's just a conversation. Oh, thank you very much. I'm fine, thank you. Cheers. Sorry, the wife just brought me a beer. My wife's awesome, isn't she? She's awesome. No, feel free to ask questions.
Has there ever been anyone who has got like a motorcycle record for lapping the world then? Is it like a fastest circumnavigation?
I looked at that actually, but for my trip, but because of political correctness and safety and all that bollocks now, the Guinness World Records won't accredit anything like that anymore.
No, I can imagine.
But it is held. Excuse me, I think Nick Sanders still holds it. Do you know the Welsh chap?
Yeah.
He's ridden around the world umpteen times. He's cycled around the world. He's done all sorts. Excuse me, but he's got the record on his. I think it was on the R1, or it might have been on a Fireblade. So he's done it on multiple different bikes. I think it was the R1, and it was. Is it something like 17 and a half days, 18 days to do the official right round the world type trip. So it's not.
That's mad, isn't it?
It's a little bit like the long way round type of route, literally just straight round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it is something ridiculous, like 18 or 19 days. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But net
obviously more about long journeys each day rather than speed.
Yeah. Nick, I don't know if have you ever met Nick? Have you ever chatted to Nick Sanders?
I've only ever seen him briefly wearing his Union Jack coat at the bike show. That was it.
With the utmost respect, I mean the bloke is an overland god. For what he does is just phenomenal. But he's mad as a box of frogs. He will sit on that bike for like 3 days, and he'll literally put his head on the tank, put the side stand down, put his head on his tank, and but he'll pull to the side of the road, and he'll have like a 10-minute, 20-minute kip on the bike, and then he'll ride again for another 18 hours.
Yeah, saw something about he was sleeping on his R1, on its side stand, just lay on his back across the top of it. Yeah.
He's mastered how to sleep on the bike. But
it's one way of stopping it getting nicked, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, he takes. I've done some big mile days, but he takes it to a whole new level.
Yeah. If you could do an Ed march around the world on a C90 style, or do a GS BMW GS, which would you go for?
God, blimey. Do you know what? It's funny that I've just had a Sinus Terrain, a 125. I've had that for the week just to do a few vids and stuff on, and it's great fun. I had a hoot on it. I just did all the little back lanes rather than taking the motorways and the big major roads. I was on all the back lanes. But I tell you, in my head, before COVID all happened, I'd been chatting with Sinus, and I was going to do an around the UK challenge ride on this 125, and I thought 3 days, I can get it done in 3 days. Not a hope in hell. Just having ridden it, there's no way you'd get, because you're doing 35, 40 miles an hour, I would say.
Yeah.
Well, probably your average speed is even less than that, but yeah, to think that I was going to cover like 2,500 miles in 3, it just weren't going to happen. So there's a massive ground factor, and because you're going a lot slower, you definitely see a lot more on the smaller bike. But picking my GS today up, I picked my GS up from Sinus because I left it with them. I jumped on the GS, and just straight away I was like, oh god, this is awesome. It's comfortable, it's fast, and it was just like. So I think, given a choice between like the small CC and the big GS for our world trip, I'd go for the GS personally. But but if, and I've said this before, if I could get hold of an S1000RR, I would take an S1000RR. I would definitely be up for doing the sports bike again for a big trip. Yeah, definitely. I always said, when I finished the Teapot trip, I always said, well, I've done it now, I've got nothing left to prove. So, I would take something like a GS and just be comfortable and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, in the last year, it started niggling away at me again, and I'm like, oh no, I've not. I didn't do my whole route. I missed out bits of Africa, and I missed out the top and bottom of the Americas, and I didn't get to India, and I would love to go back there on a sports bike and just tick them off.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I was actually thinking when I was watching you, Joe, you've done your latest video on a Harley Davidson.
Yeah.
And I was watching it thinking, I wonder which is heavier, the Harley Davidson or the Gixxer with all his kit on.
Definitely the Harley. Yeah. Yeah, it looked like I had a load of kit on the Gixxer, but there honestly wasn't. In volume, there was when I first left, there was a ridiculous amount of kit on the bike, but it definitely didn't weigh. Well, I think all packed up, it wouldn't have weighed any more than sort of 55, 60 kilograms to begin with. But that's dead weight. That's not like a person weight, is it? That's just dead weight hanging on the bike. So by the time I was halfway across Russia, I ditched most of my kit. So I was probably down to about 20 kilograms for at least half the trip, if not 2/3 of the trip. Yeah, you don't need much.
No.
But anyway, this is turning into me
go
now.
on, carry on, sorry.
Right, Pete English. I don't know if you've been watching any of these.
Here we go. I totally have. I've been waiting for this one.
These are always.
Is it as bizarre as the others?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't read any. I caught sight of a couple of questions when I was looking at the different platforms, but I haven't gone through the questions. So, Pete. I've always wondered about painted helmets. For years we were told not to do it or put stickers on them. What's changed, and do the manufacturers still honour the warranty? That's not as deep as we thought, is it?
No, it isn't. That's quite normal, isn't it?
There's another one, don't worry.
Oh, God. What I think what it is because if you say it's okay to paint a helmet, then the way anyone could approach it could be massively different from someone who kind of knows what they're doing and does it in a safe manner to someone who doesn't know what they're doing and is going to affect the integrity of the helmet. So I think it's more of a blanket, just unless you know what you're doing, don't do it.
Right.
Because all it would take is, Joe, a bit of solvent getting through to the EPS liner and it'll just eat away at it. Getting it too hot, if you try baking it, will melt the EPS liner as well. Joe, if there's a whole thing about polycarbonate helmets, which was, you're not allowed to paint plastic helmets, but you can paint fiberglass. So again, it's knowing whether it's a plastic helmet or not, whether it's fiberglass helmet or not. But even the polycarbonate helmets these days have got a paint finish on them, and they're just using. A lot of the time, you can kind of tell by the smell if you sand it. It's a water-based 2-pack normally,
right?
So it sets solid, and that creates a barrier to the plastic. So you could actually paint, Joe, like over the top of the polycarbonate, as long as that paint layer isn't broken through, because the paint layer that's on from the factory will protect the plastic underneath. A solvent could weaken it a little bit, but if you've got something like a painted factory helmet, it's all right to put a sticker on it, which that's one of the things that's like, oh, you can't put stickers on. You can put a sticker on. I mean, some of them come with a little pack of stickers, so you can put extra showies on or extra eyes on or whatever, So, it's just about knowing what you're doing. And I'd say, if you were going to have a helmet painted, it's worth getting a helmet that is worth more than the paint job, or say at least the same value. Go for a high-end helmet. Because it would be a strange situation to spend £100 on a helmet and then spend £400 on a paint job. That's the wrong way round. Safety first. Come on, so get a good helmet, then have it custom painted. But you will, once you've had one done, it's a bit of an addiction sometimes, because you realise that that's your image from then on, and you're individual. You're never going to bump into someone with the same helmet, and then going to a shelf and buying one off the shelf that's already done just takes the edge off.
I've backed that up 100%. Since I had mine done for the world trip, every helmet I've bought myself since then has just been plain like plain black or plain white, just because in my head I've thought, I'll get that done, I'll get that painted up. And I've never done it since that trip, but I think the next, my old shoey's had it now, so I've got a couple of different lids that I'm sort of reviewing long term at the moment, but I'll no doubt probably go back to another shoey, and then I'll probably come to you. I'll probably be looking at something, I'd think so. You'll have to come for a ride up if you do. Oh God,
drop the helmet off and come for a ride.
Oh, absolutely. Because
I'm about 15 minutes, 20 minutes from like the Cat and Fiddle and Snake Pass. So all around there. That's my little. I grew up riding AR50s and TZR 250s. We used to go up onto Cat and Fiddle on a Wednesday night, and it seemed like all the bikers went up on a Wednesday night, and you just, before the cameras were there.
I was going to say, is it your fault the cameras are up there now? Is it?
It's to be honest, I don't know whether this is right or wrong, but I just see it as a challenge to try and make every corner at 50 now. Don't speed on the straight, but if there's a tight bend, I'm going to try and get around at 50, where before I'd have probably tried to go around a bit slower. So
Yeah.
He swings around.
I can't comment on that. I can't possibly say anything. Yeah. Well, you're up.
I think it was a ridiculous situation, that one was, because there's actually a shortcut on the Catfin.
I know, yeah.
And they couldn't turn the cameras on because the shortcut made it look like you were speeding. So, just strange.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a contentious issue, isn't it, with speed cameras? I understand the logic behind them. I understand why. Personally, I think why they were initially dreamed up and why they were initially brought in. But for me now, I think a lot of the time it's just a revenue thing. I don't think it's I don't think it's a safety thing in a lot of places, because you know, you look at a lot of these places. I know they say that we're getting political here. I know they say that the locations for cameras are based purely on, you know, accident statistics and blah 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 blah. I understand that, but when you're right out in the middle of nowhere, like on some straight bits of roads, or, you know, biking favourites, real nice stretches of road which you ride all the time, you will know if you ride them all the time if they're an accident black spot or not. And the amount of times I see cameras popping up, or 50s coming in, you know, just they lower the speed limit, and you're like, why have you done that? You never see an accident round here. It's not like there's loads of options everywhere, so why have you brought the speed limit down to 40 or 50 mile an hour? But anyway,
I think there's a lot more to be said for like having police on the ground, because they can see whether it's someone who's being openly dangerous or someone who's just pushed the limits a little bit and needs a slap on the wrist, you know. And I think that's where, obviously, with like your situation and you leaving the police, in some ways it's the police have lost out, because you've got someone who is a bit, being well travelled. You're going to be a much better person to judge your situation and have a level head to things than someone who's just gone through a training course and been put out. Not that that's what happens with police, I don't know. But.
I mean, this is a weird thing, because when I joined 18 years ago, all the old sweat coppers, you know, the coppers that had been in there 15, 20, 25 years or whatever, they were all saying, sheesh, it's not like it was in my day, you know, the job's fucked, all this sort of stuff. And it's weird, because now, 15, 20 years later, I'm looking at all the new probationers.
You're doing the same thing.
Yeah, but you know, you look at them, and I look at these kids effectively that are coming in, and I look and I think there's no way you can compare what I was like, and people that I knew, what we were like, to what they're like, because they're like 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids that are starting now, you know. And you just look and you think, I was 25 years of age. I joined in a massive recruitment drive through sort of 2000 to 2002, and there were a lot of like middle-aged people that were in their mid-20s to mid-30s that were all leaving careers and moving to the old bill. And I kind of think that's probably they're the best people to get for that role, because it's a job where you need a little bit of life experience to, you know, you're having a barney with your missus, and a neighbour calls the old bill because there's shouting and screaming coming, and I turn up as a spotty 18-year-old kid to start lecturing you about, you know, your domestic situation. You're like, am I going to take you seriously? Of course you're not. You know, you're a kid. Bugger off. What do you know about what's going on here? So, you know, I do look at the way the training's done these days. Like when I was there, we had a world-class training school at Hendon. Well, they've got rid of that now, and effectively you're like distance. You learn on the job now, and it's crazy, you know, to think of what training are these people getting before they're released into the streets. And the streets are a bloody dangerous place at times. They really are. And I worry. I
can imagine.
You know, I worry with especially what's going on at the moment over in the States, and people try to compare the American old bill to the British old bill. You can't do that. You know, we operate in totally different environments, and I might be biased, but I think we're head and shoulders above the States in terms of the training that we get in every aspect. So, you know, people trying to compare us to the American law enforcement, you can't do that. But I think we're maybe on a dangerous slope at the moment with how the training and the recruiting is going. It's almost just like they're just wanting anyone in to fill up the numbers.
Yeah.
I think that's a dangerous tightrope to go down for sure. Blimey. God, that's got all political. Jeez. Oh no.
We need another of Pete's proper questions.
Well,
now,
here we go.
Just to change the mood.
Here's Pete's next question. Who's been the most influential person in your life and why?
I don't know, actually. That's a really, really tricky one.
It is.
I suppose my dad. Your dad's always going to kind of be a big influence on you, especially, I don't know, he never shows his like, if he's proud of you, he won't ever show it.
Mm-hmm.
He's always got a kind of like when I was doing car design, I'd take these designs to him and go, "Oh, what do you think of this, Dad?" And he'd go, "Where's the windscreen wipers?" He's just like, "Oh, come on, I've just like designed this gorgeous looking car and you want to know where the windscreen wipers are." So, but sometimes you see a crack in it and you see that he's proud of me. So, yeah, he's quite good.
Your dad
gives me a hard time, but
yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. It's good to have the old father figure. It's weird because I would have said it was my mum until I was on my trip, and it was only while I was away on my trip. I don't know. You just have loads of time to think about stuff, and I sort of started realising how much of a role model my old boy had been to me growing up, and it's just a lot of stuff I'd never ever thought about. And you were like, because to me, my dad was always working abroad. You know, he was in the oil, so I only saw him like half the year, if that. So
when you start realising you're becoming like your dad,
absolutely.
You're going,
oh God,
what's going on here?
Yeah. I my brother pisses himself because I am like becoming my dad now, definitely. You're like, oh no. Right, Tony Hannum. Hi guys, how do you get a clean line on your paint jobs? I've tried for years with no luck.
So if you mask something out and you put a wet kind of coat over the top of the masking, it'll quite often bleed underneath.
Yeah.
So what you can do is use a clear base coat or sealer, put that on first, let that do the bleeding because you won't see it. Then you put your colour on and then you unmask, and then it gives you a nice clean edge. So
trade secrets.
Good quality masking tape as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I've tried that, like not on helmets, but you know, just when you're doing the cutting in on like, home decorating and things like that, trying to get around skirting, it just always bleeds out. Oh, it's horrible.
See, this is another thing why I can't decorate, because the edges aren't straight anyway. So even if I try my best, it looks like it's wobbling all over the place.
You're a total perfectionist.
A little bit. I managed to, when I was teaching, I managed to let go of a lot.
Right.
So, because you can't be like obsessive if you're letting a student do it. Because you'll just never let them do it. You'll keep taking the spray gun off them and doing it yourself. So, I learned to like let go a little bit and focus it on when it's needed and stuff like that. So
AD Goldspink. Some fantastic work on your designs. How much preparation goes into creating a design? Do you look out for other helmet designs when travelling, and what's the best and worst you've seen? Right, quite a few questions there.
Yeah. I can't think of a best and worst because there's just so many out there, and a lot of the really good ones are good for different reasons. So it's hard to kind of say which one is really, really good, you know.
Are there any that you've seen that you've thought that you've not done, that you've seen and you've thought, oh yeah, I wish I'd done that?
There's been quirky designs. I quite like the quirky ideas. So there was one that was a motocross helmet sprayed up like a cardboard box. That was quite a good one.
Like a cardboard
and it even
box?
Had like it had the packing the shipping label on it and fragile taped all over it. That was a really cool one. But it's kind of the quirky stuff I quite like.
Yeah.
There's so many different styles. If you look at the car racers, seem to have a different style to the motorcycle racers, and the the road motorcycle stuff is different to the motocross helmets.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own styles. So like the motocross stuff, a lot of the time it's asymmetric. They don't even do a symmetrical design. It's just all over.
Mm-hmm.
The car stuff is very... Everything's all seems to kind of go... All the line work is round the helmet, and it's very, very fine pinstripes that all go up levels and down levels.
Right.
Which, I mean, for me, I couldn't... I'd struggle to do that just because my motivation is in the bikes.
Right.
So to sit and spend hours and hours doing a car helmet when cars aren't my thing, I'd struggle with a bit. Whereas knowing it's going to be out on a bike and might see it on the track, that's allows me to do the hours of work. So
because you've moved to actual like fairing designs as well now, don't you? You do full custom paint jobs on the bikes, liveries.
Well, the last one I did was Peter Hickman's MV Augusta. So it was Jack Valentine's MV Augusta.
Yeah.
And Peter Hickman was getting sponsored by Iron Maiden.
Mm-hmm.
It was top secret because he hadn't even done it at the time, and he was riding for Lee Hardy Racing at the time.
Right.
And Lee said, "If you're going to do it, you need to do it right." So he said, "Go and see Phil." So it was quite nice. So Peter Hickman came to see me. We did a design. He ended up. He was like, "Can you paint the fairings?" I said, "Yeah, well, if you send me some new fairings, I'll do it."
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to drop them off, and he was like, "Oh, the mudguard, I think it was, the mudguard and the seat unit don't fit. The holes are in the wrong place on the new one. So can you paint this old one?" And it's just pebble dashed. So then you're like smoothing bits out. There's a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of work to paint two fairings at short notice before the TT. And we did a helmet as well. He had a special showy helmet that we did that. I think that went into like a competition prize or something.
It did, yeah.
But that was the last time I painted one. And I think Peter's he's got that bike.
Yeah, he does. I think he was talking
in
about
his
it.
workshop at the moment.
Yeah.
And then after then I was just like, look, I'm fed up of tripping over fairings and using loads and loads of paint. So I've designed them, and then most of the time I think Mick at Rage does the paintwork.
Okay, yeah.
And I've done a lot of the designs. So I've done like Michael Rutter's designs for a few years now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
But there's a lot of work in the designs, because you'll get a sponsor goes, "Oh, I'm not happy, can it be bigger, or can I have it there?" Or sometimes you're fishing for a sponsor, so the team owner or whoever will go, "I think we might be able to get so and so on board. Can you show us what it would look like so we can take it to them?"
Yeah.
And then they come back and go, "Yeah, they weren't interested. Can we have another one?" So there's a bit of that, but that's what helps them get the money for the races.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They look mint as well, don't they? All custom liveried up bikes. Oh, I love them. Beautiful. Beautiful. What else did Addy? Oh yeah, how much preparation goes into creating an actual design?
It's a bit like, do you know when you used to go back to school and you couldn't write?
Yeah.
Because you hadn't written all summer holidays. It's a bit like that. You get round to like winter and everyone wants new designs for the next year, and the first few it's like, where am I going with this? And I'll probably go through 5 versions before I start hitting on something that I like, and then I'll do like 9 versions overall before we actually get to like a finished stage.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I've done on some of the logo designs, we've done 18 versions, I think, on some of them.
Jeez, have you? Bloody hell.
Yeah, I'm working with, I hope you don't mind mentioning this, we're working with Tom Sykes at the moment.
Oh.
Just tweaking his logo in. And we're on version 5, and there's 3 versions of version 5. And that's just for the Sykes. So, yeah. And we're not there yet, so when we finish this I've got to do another one. Just a little tweak and see it. Yeah.
So when you're designing them, what do you do? Are you like literally pen and paper, or do you do it all on the computer, or how's it start?
So I've got a computer kind of, Joe, where you can draw on the screen. So I generally just design straight into a preset helmet template, and I just start. If I'm not sure where I'm going with it, I'll do some rough sketches and then start doing something more accurate after. But sometimes you just can kind of find what you want. You'll draw an image and then cut and paste it in and see how it fits. And Yeah.
I would love to have that sort of creativity, man. I really would. A pal of mine, he's a professional illustrator, and you know, he came up with my my logo for the Round the World stuff. It was him that came up with all that, and you know, I literally just went to him going, I don't know. Can you do something? And just to sit and watch in the space of 5-10 minutes, he would just, we could try this, we can try that, and just to watch his mind fall out onto the screen, and you were like, that's amazing. I don't know how you come up with stuff like that, because I literally just, with my video editing, I have to watch other people's videos and look at the techniques that they've done, and then going, I like that, right, how have you done that, and then try and emulate it almost. I'm crap at coming up with my own idea. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
I'm with the helmet designs, I'm a bit the opposite. I've been stuck on a design and not known what to do, and I've gone onto a website called Racing Helmets Garage, where it's just like a directory of every race helmet that's worth looking at for years and years and years. F1, everything. And I've gone through there, just trying to find some inspiration, and it, if anything, it's worse.
Is it? I'm
better just not having nothing to go off and just trying to think something up, because otherwise I just get an overload of, I could do this, I could do that, and you don't want it to look like anyone else's, so you don't want to kind of follow what they've done too much.
Have you ever had that? Have you ever had, like, you've done that final design and produced a helmet and going, there we go, that's the stuff, and then looked at someone else's helmet and going, shit, that's a bit similar?
I don't think I have.
Good.
Not really. I mean, I've had it where a rider's come to me with their kind of design style, and I've had to just adapt it, so they're the ones that are closest to another design. But yeah, I can't think of one where I've done it and gone, whoops, that's a bit, bit like it's been plagiarised. So yeah, I don't think so. I think that's why it's best to not look at other stuff, just do your own thing a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
no, it's a hell of a talent, mate. It really is. Nick Turnbull, hi Bruce and Phil. Love looking at the amazing designs racers have on their helmets. I would like to ask if there's a particular style or make of helmet that's easier to paint than others, like Shoei over RI or race helmet over Enduro. Also, what type of paint do you use which won't compromise the integrity of the helmet structure? Well, we covered that bit, didn't we? So, any particular style or make of helmet that is the favourite?
Off-road helmets are a pain.
Are they?
Because of the peak on them. Yeah. So if you want, I mean, the peaks are adjustable. So if you want the design to run through and into the peak, it's almost got to line up somewhere roughly where that peak's going to be angled at.
Yeah.
And to do that, you need to put the peak on. And in putting the peak on, sometimes it'll mark the paint of where, or the masking where you were going to have it. So it's just a bit awkward, Joe. And it's another one where they're not my favourite to work on, but I'll do them. I mean, at least it's still bikers, so. I think if the helmet manufacturer uses like a double-sided adhesive to stick the vents down, they're some of my favourites to work on. So, Arai and Shoei, none of the vents are screwed from the inside. Where some of the other manufacturers, you'd have to take the EPS liner out to get to the screws to take the vents off. And one of the things that we get told is do not touch the EPS liner. So you have to work around the vents then. I think as long as there's little techniques that I've worked on, so that the switches and stuff, even if paint gets on them, I can just take the paint off, so it looks like it was stripped down. Little paint hacks, as it were.
Well, you're gonna love me if I ever get my lid done by you. You're gonna love me because it'll be a peak lid. I love the peak lids. That's the ones I always go for.
Well, if you look at like Linden Poskets, the Union Jack's on the peak, and then it fades into a colour before it goes into the lid. So
did you do that one?
If he if he damages it, I can just paint a peak here without needing the helmet here, and just send it him, and it'll match up. So
it's cracking.
Yeah, it was done on purpose. That was.
Yeah, nice. Did you do all of the ones for the last Dakar then? All for the different team members.
Yes, yeah. So I painted 2 for Linden, and then there was 4 that were wrapped by a graphic company that I use called Merch Decals. So we worked on a design together where I could paint it, but they could also wrap it to a good enough standard, and it would kind of all look uniformed, even though two were painted. So yeah, we worked together on that, and that was a tricky project. That was.
I bet it was. Yeah,
but it was good. It was good seeing them out there getting used. You know, getting the footage.
Did you see what was the South African chap called, the one that hit the camel?
Oh, I know. Yeah,
the state of the lid.
His helmet, but it saved him, didn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
that was a wrapped one.
Was it?
Yeah.
It was proper ground away, wasn't it?
Yeah, it properly damaged it. But I mean, I think like the peak took some of the impact on that. You could see the peak had been bent and distorted.
Yeah.
And you get the same with the vents on the back. A lot of the time in these road helmets, if you go down backwards, the extra bit is almost like a shock absorber.
Yeah.
Will take some of the impact before it hits the shell. So
I can vouch for that. I've had my fair share of offs, unfortunately, on the road, and I always used to have Shoei Xperits. I had a Xperit 1 and then the Xperit 2, and yeah, both the first one, the Shoei Xperit, I crashed in Germany. My own fault, riding like I'd done the Nürburgring, survived the Nürburgring, and then was flying through the Black Forest thinking I was Valentino Rossi, and went off the side of a mountain at 130, and my helmet, when they recovered the helmet, looked like it had been hit with an axe. It split from there all the way to there, but
wow,
you know, it definitely saved me, because if my head did that, my tiny brain would have come out. But and
it's worth spending the money
absolutely.
On a good helmet.
Yeah,
you know, it's just, and I would say it's not even model by model. You know, if you can afford a top brand of helmet and you get the bottom model of that brand, then that's better than buying a cheap manufacturer helmet.
Yeah, definitely.
They step up a lot, manufacturer by manufacturer depending.
Yeah.
So
people out there that spend all that money on a bike, and then they go for the cheapest lid and cheapest kit out there.
Yeah.
You're insane.
I don't get it.
No. I mean, it literally will save your life, won't it?
I mean, I don't know why you would spend so much money on having your bike so custom and then ride around in a standard lid, even, even if you do spend the money, I'd be like, it's got to be customised. It's got to be different to everyone else, haven't you? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mike Phillipson, hi chaps. Phil, whose lid, past or present, would be your ultimate dream job to do, and why?
So even if I didn't paint it, someone's...
Yeah. Anyone at all out there, obviously, that wears a lid, who would be your number one?
I think I'd have to say Joey Dunlop.
Yeah.
Just because, Joe, like I paint Michael's helmets at the moment, and I was lucky enough to do William a helmet when he was riding the JPS Norton of his dad's. So yeah, if I could paint like Joey and Robert a helmet, Joe, if I was back then and I could have, then that would have been quite something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe, I quite like doing the work for, what would you say, like, because I've done work for the Dunlops, and there's such a big thing, Joe, when I was a kid going over to the Isle of Man and watching the racing and seeing Joey Dunlop and stuff like that. In fact, my brother's got one of Joey's back tyres in my mum and dad's loft.
Has he?
And he never got it signed. He won the Southern 100 on it, and he said, "Oh, I believe you throw these in the bin afterwards." And he was like, "Yeah, can I have it?" Yeah. So he took this Joe Southern 100 winning tyre, no signature or anything on it. So.
But he's kept it. Yeah.
But yeah, we know, I suppose. But yeah, it's in the loft at my mum and dad's.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole family's got such a pedigree, doesn't it, and the history that's there.
Yeah. I mean, I am so lucky to have worked with the people I've worked with.
Yeah.
Joe, like Michael Rutter, doing Michael Rutter a helmet to look like his dad's helmet, and doing Christian Idden's helmets. Joe, there's some absolute legends, and I've got to do the helmet, so
mega.
I can't be disappointed with what I've done so far.
Have you been over to Ballymoney? Have you gone over there to the Dunlop's sort of backyard?
No, I went to the Ulster GP for like a practice day. That's as much as I managed to do.
Is it?
But yeah, I've not managed to go to Ballymoney or Northwest. I like to do Northwest.
On my way to the TT, I was coming up through Ireland, and I went to Joey's bar just to pay my respects, and I got my pint of Coke or whatever it was at the bar, and was chatting to the lady behind the bar, and she could see me in me grubby white leathers, and had a look at the bike outside, and she was like, "Blimey, are you off to the TT?" So I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "You been on a bit of a trip?" She said, that looks like it's seen some action. So I told her all about it, and she was, "Oh, bloody hell." So she got on the phone, and next thing, all these Irish biker guys all turned up. Turned out it was Linda, Joey's wife. She was working behind the bar and there, yeah. She was lovely, yeah, really, really.
Actually, your grubby leathers, when you were interviewed in America on the news channel, how did you get them ones? Because they were like brand new leathers.
They were. My principal sponsor for that trip was a company called Delta Energy, and they came on board after it all went wrong in Africa. So, I didn't have any big sponsors. Well, Bridgestone was supposed to supply the tyres, but that's a whole different story. But I didn't have any sort of monetary sponsor for the trip. So I went out, did the Africa bit. That went a bit wrong, and I came back. I ended up striking up a bit of a relationship with Delta, and they came on board as a main sponsor. But because I already had all the leathers and the bike wrapped and everything like that, I literally just got like a patch of their logo stuck onto my leathers and put some stickers on the bikes and the lid, and off I went. So part of the deal was that when I got to the States, I had to go to Houston, which was where they were opening up their global HQ. And they were going to arrange for some press to be there to sort of tie the trip in with some PR for their company. So they got me on Fox News, and they said, "We've seen the state of your leathers in the videos." They were like, "You can't, we can't have that. We can't have that." And they wanted their logo to be front and centre, So, bless them, they paid for a new set of Dionysi leathers for me and sent them to the folks I used to put all the patches and logos on the suit originally, and they had it all done, and they shipped it. Or in fact, they brought the leathers out with them when they came over to Houston, and that was it. So I was wearing these spanking brand new white leathers, and it almost took a little bit out of it because
it's like he can't have been around the world looking like that.
Because the original leathers, literally, I mean, well, to be blunt, I'd shit myself in them going through Southeast Asia, and I'd vomited in the helmet when I had dengue fever, and you've got a year's worth of blood, sweat and tears in those leathers. The rucksack's worn away the shoulders there where the straps go. It wore the leather away, and where the rucksack sits on your back, it had worn the leather away out of the back round there. So I've still got them. They look awesome. And then the leathers themselves have a story to tell. And then I had those brand new things on for the sort of main interview, and it took a little bit away, I think. But oh well. Oh well. It didn't take long to muck up those leathers. I tell you, they look like they've been round the world. They're bogging, those leathers. Yeah.
At least you got to keep them. I thought Delta might have put them in the reception or something.
Shh. No, they've not mentioned it. Not mentioned it. Yeah. Right, so that was Philip. No, so that was Mike. Peter Brownsmith. Out of all the designs you've done, well, I think we might have covered this, have we? Out of all the designs you've done, what has made you the proudest? Who is it for? And what were the reasons it was so special? Well, we kind of
that Lee Johnston one.
We kind of covered that, didn't we?
Yeah, that was special.
Also, what is the most peculiar helmet design you've ever been asked to do?
It was a bit of a joke helmet. Again, it was Lee Johnston who asked me to do it for his team boss, a guy called Phil Reed, and he asked me to do a burger.
Right.
So he said he loves beef burgers, so could you do him a burger? So I did the helmet to look like a Burger King one,
right,
in a paper wrapper, and the wrapper was open at the back with this burger with all salad and cheese hanging out. And I did it. I even did it in matte lacquer, apart from I think I gloss lacquered the lettuce and the tomato to make them look shiny and wet and things like that, and put all little sesame seeds on the top.
Brilliant.
It looked really, really good. And then I put on a label on the front on the chin which said 100% British beef, just as a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, he wore that for years and years.
Did he?
Yeah.
Be almost like though, if you got a lid like that, you would almost think, I don't want to wear it in case, you don't want to damage it, do you?
Yeah. Well, he was racing cars anyway, so.
All right, it's okay then.
They're in a protected bubble, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Get some abuse for that.
Yeah, just a bit. Dazadorf, again, I think we've maybe covered this. What got or motivated you into spray painting? So,
it was just a happy coincidence, wasn't it? I ended up in a body shop and ended up. When I wanted to learn about the construction of a car, I got put on a paint apprenticeship,
and that was. But you must have been. Sorry, go on.
I was a bit gutted, but it just suited my kind of the way I am. Everything had to be just perfect to get the perfect job, and so it was a perfectionist thing.
But you must have been artistic before that, weren't you? I mean, were you into?
Yeah, well, I had to go through college doing art and design to get onto the transport design course. So everything I already knew about colours and colour matching and mixing, and it was just a case of how to put it on a car and then learning how to put it on a helmet and yeah.
But you never had you ever done the sort of airbrushing and the that style of painting before you moved to cars and helmets? Had you ever done anything like that?
I'd done a little bit when I was in the body shop. Was the first time I painted a helmet, and it was for a lad I used to work with.
Right.
He had an old DGK, and he was like, "Oh, we could paint it up." So that was my first ever one. I've got some pictures of that somewhere. I'll have to send them you. But did that one, and then the next one I did was when I was a teacher, probably 4 years later. Yeah. And that was a skull helmet for a Harley rider. And then the next one I think after that was for the same guy, which was a World War II bomber themed one with the pin-up girl on the side and D-Day black and white stripes over the top and stuff like that.
Nice.
A bit of smoke staining around the vents to make them look like exhausts.
Yeah.
So, and then just people started then asking me to do helmets for them. That's where the hobby kicked off, really.
Yeah. God, like I said, I would love to have that creativity, man. It must be. You must have a right sense of achievement when you're not only when you come up with these designs, but when you actually transfer them onto a physical helmet. It must be a buzz.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. You've ridden around the world, haven't you? So it's the sense of achievement you get from that is probably the same, probably more, in fact, than what I've done. I mean, I've seen my helmets in some amazing places. Yeah. To have a helmet win at the TT at the senior race, that's quite amazing. Seeing them on magazine covers and things like that, it's good. Yeah. I'd probably say the one thing you don't get is time out riding my bike because I'm always painting helmets. Yeah. So that's the downside. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird that, isn't it? It's when your sort of passion becomes your career, your income, then it does lose.
It kind of takes over. Yeah.
I mean, I've even, and I'm in no way complaining because I'm fully aware I'm living the dream at the moment. But now this is my full-time job because everything steps up a level then, doesn't it? Because you've got to keep to some sort of time scale. You've got to get content coming out, at least one video a week, preferably two. Now I'm doing a podcast, so you add to it. And
I mean, just the podcast alone that you're doing, it's like, I know you do them on a Friday. You do the chat on the Friday, then you're going to be like, I think by the Sunday night or something, it's on like Spotify, and then by the Wednesday you've got the YouTube video, then you've got the next one by the Friday. So it's like a constant
the way
video in production.
That's it.
So on and so forth.
Generally, my sort of schedule at the moment is any time between Thursday and normally Sunday, maybe a Monday. Any time between then, Thursday to Sunday, Monday, I'll record the podcast like this. We have the chat. Then it'll go out as a podcast, so the audio version will go out on a Wednesday. Then I do a bike review vid on a Friday. Excuse me. And then a video version of the podcast goes out on the Monday. So it's basically, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday. I just try and keep that going. But I think what I would like to be able to do is have 2 bike vids a week. So Monday and Friday bike vids. Wednesday would be the podcast video and the podcast. So they both go out on the Wednesday, the actual audio version and the video version. But it's just there's a lot of work involved with that, because it's a whole new video that you have to edit, and the trip ones are a nightmare. Bike reviews are fairly straightforward and easy, but the trip ones can take a week just to do one vid. Just
to troll through the footage. I mean, my most basic videos, I pretty much get all of the footage, stick it all in the timeline, and I'm up to about times 32 on speed normally to cut it down to about 5 minutes. And then I produce that, and then I go back to it and I cut out any dead spots in it that might have where the camera's been left on or something. And then, but that's a basic one, but I'm trying to change the style a little bit and make it a little bit more kind of complex. So
they're addictive, man. You would think. I mean, it literally is almost like watching paint dry, isn't it? And you'd think that'll bore the tears out of me, but it's not. It's really addictive because it's all speed ramped up with a time lapse. You see the whole helmet develop in front of your eyes. Yeah.
And you don't always see where it's going until it unmasks at the end. So it's just layer, and then when all that comes off, you see this design come out. So
can you guess what it is yet? Right, Andrew Scott, have you always had an interest in other people's helmets? don't get
only the select few.
He's got a serious question here as well. Is there any design you won't do? Do you turn down work if you get a customer who seems like they will never be satisfied?
You kind of, sometimes you get a gist that it's going to be more trouble than it's worth. Because I'm on my own doing this, and it'll take like a week to do a helmet normally. The most I've ever done on my own was, I think I did about 102 helmets in a year.
Jesus.
Which was, I mean, a lot of that was race work, so you'll be doing 2 in a week or 3 in a week, but side by side, all the same. But yeah, you kind of there's probably a lot of interest that I get that I just can't even go near. So it's a real tricky one anyway, Joe. Kind of getting difficult customers. There's probably some that I just never even managed to get in touch with or hear off. You kind of just you work them out a little bit, and if they're not serious or they can't make their mind up, generally you go so far and they'll stop anyway.
I was going to say, you must get the sort of tire kicker version, do you? People that are just having a...
But you kind of get the gist. Even in the first email and messages, you get the gist of who's serious and who isn't. Right. I won't... If someone comes to me and says, can I paint so-and-so's helmet, and I didn't paint the original, then I just guide them to the original paint.
Oh, okay, right.
I'd only ever do stuff if I got permission to do it. I wouldn't do a copy of someone else's helmet.
Yeah, got you.
So, because that's how that painter earns a living. Yeah. Joe, doing replicas of the helmets they might have done and stuff like that. So yeah.
No, that's
if someone brought me a really, really cheap helmet, then I won't do it. I think maybe I'm a bit of a helmet snob as to what I'll put my paint on.
Nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that. Right, that is all the Patreon ones. So we'll move over to Instagram, which is at TeapotOne Insta, if you're not following. And where do we have here? Right, first one, Youngie_5. Bruce, if you had a design on a helmet, what would it be, and which helmet would you choose? Oh. Do you know, I have thought about this since we chatted, and thought about you coming on, obviously I've started to think, oh, right, wonder what design I would have. I haven't got a clue. I honestly don't know at the moment. I've got someone looking into rebranding the whole TeapotOne brand at the moment as we speak.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for them to come back with their proposals, their designs.
See what they come back with, yeah.
Because I think the logo might change. Well, the logo will change. So I couldn't even speculate what sort of design I would do. But with regards to which helmet, at the moment, my favourite is the Shoei Hornet ADV.
Hornet.
Yeah, that's the one I would go for. Absolutely. Phil, for a design like Lee Johnston's on the Shoei Spirit 3, how many hours would that take to do?
I don't really count in hours. I count in days.
Jesus. Wow.
So something like Lee's helmet, again, start to finish, it would be like a week to do. If you were doing two side by side, you could just about do them in a week still.
Yeah.
With a few nights and bits, a bit extra. But for some reason, when you get onto 3 helmets, it just kind of cripples you a bit, Joe. You can't do it in a week. You can't do it in a week and a half. It just suddenly jumps.
Does it?
Yeah, I don't know why.
But then you're saying
it just seems like Groundhog Day when you got 3.
Yeah. But you're saying a week. I mean that's obviously I'm imagining that is a week of your sort of work ethic, your hours, like 10 to 18 hours a day. So it's not. I imagine it's not a normal 9 to 5 type job, or is it?
One helmet would be a 9 to 5.
Okay.
5 days. If you want to do 2 helmets in a week, you're going to be doing a few hours in the evening.
Yeah.
So maybe up to about 1 o'clock in the morning, something like that,
right.
on a few occasions.
Yeah.
If you want to do more than that, you're doing the 4 o'clock in the morning shifts. And I'm not the only one. There is a load of other helmet painters who I talk to in the middle of the night, because I know they're up doing the same thing as me. So yeah, it's industry-wide practice to work through the night. Yeah.
And what's it like then? What's the relationship like with the other painters? I take it. I don't imagine there's much animosity between you. It's just a common respect, is it?
It was a very reclusive kind of thing, really. Everyone was doing their own thing a lot, and then I mean, first of all, everyone was a bit secret about how they were doing it, and then I was looking from a paint tutor perspective and going, well, I think what he's doing to create that is the same as what he's done to create that, even though they both think it's a bit secret. Yeah. So that's why I started doing the videos, because I thought, well, there's no real secrets here, and any tiny little secrets I might have, I can just crop them out and no one will see them. Yeah. And then, so that's why I kind of started doing that, and then I'd set up a page on Facebook called Helmet Painters, and I got a few of the guys who were helmet painters in there, going from some of the best helmet painters in the country. So we've got like Jason Fowler, who was doing Lewis Hamilton's helmets, he's in there. We've got DID, who does Ross's helmets, he's in there, and Joe, I think the guys who from Starline are in there, who are doing like the Renzos and stuff. But you've also got guys who are hobbyists, and they'll go on and they'll say, you know, oh, I've got this helmet but I don't know how to take this vent off, and someone who's done it before will go in and comment.
Awesome.
So it's created a bit of a community.
Yeah.
And I think it's all the better for it, because we're all doing the same thing. You know, we're all trying to paint helmets, and there's riders who I've done work for who have gone elsewhere to other painters, and then there's riders who have come from other painters to me. It's a bit of shuffling round. In fact, I've always said if I was a racer, every year I'd have a different painter.
Would you?
Just so I could have. Yeah, because it's like having a gallery of artwork, isn't it?
Yeah, because you must all have, just intrinsically, you must all have your own unique style, your own way of
styles
doing it.
Yeah.
So can you?
And you're going to have some years where you get something terrible and you hate it, but then you're going to hit on other years where you're going to win and get something really nice.
So can you look at other? Sounds weird. This. Can you look at other helmets, other lids, and straight away can you know
tell who
painted that?
I would say within the British Superbike paddock, because I know that there's only so many painters generally who do the British Superbike helmets. Within reason, I could tell who's done what. Yeah. There's certain styles and techniques that you can straight away pick up on. So,
what would you say is yours then? What would you say is your style?
I don't know. I've always said I like to do a helmet that's bold, so when someone's coming past fast, straight away you can recognise who it is.
Yeah.
But then build a finer detail in that is there if you look at it close up.
Yeah.
And especially it's nice if you put personal touches in that are like ghosted in. So there's a lot of riders who have the children's names and things like that airbrushed into the helmet, so little details.
Yeah.
Lee Johnson's got that same picture of him and his dad is hidden into the whole thing. Yeah, it's all over that helmet this year, but you'd struggle to see it.
Wow. So, I mean, how? I suppose I was going to say, how does that make you feel then? If you put all that effort and work into something which most people will never even see, does that bother you or not?
No, the rider sees it.
Yeah.
The rider sees it, and it's almost if you put some of those really finer details in, that's what then means if someone tried to copy it, they're not going to get the same thing. Joe, it's almost like putting a fingerprint on it. Yeah. You can't match it. No one's going to be able to do that picture of Lee and his dad because it's just not out there. Yeah. Joe, Lee sent it to me. I turned it into an image, and that keeps it exclusive, doesn't it? So. But yes,
well, that's mega. That must be the best feeling ever. That to produce a bit of content that means that much to somebody, that's got to be.
I did one I always remember was I spent over a week doing a helmet for Taylor Mackenzie. And it was one of these. It was a design or like a style that I'd seen done elsewhere, where they basically have a black image, and either side of the black image you have a bit of blue and a bit of red, and it creates this weird effect that messes with your eyes. It's like a weird 3D effect. And I was like, Taylor had said, "Oh, can we do something like this?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it." And spent ages doing this helmet. Drove all the way. Literally just finished it at about 5 a.m. Jumped straight in the van. Drove straight down to Silverstone. Handed it to, went to see him, and he was going to go out for practice in the afternoon or qualifying in the afternoon or something. So I said, right, I'll take it to it was AGV. I'll take it to AGV. I'll get it race prep for you. I'll bring it you back. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to wear it straight away. So he put it on. I think he did 2 corners and high-sided and smashed it. And it's just one of those things. The helmet did what it's intended to do.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it didn't last longer, but it's one of those things, unfortunately, that can happen.
That's a very pragmatic approach. That, yeah. I think a lot of people would just be like, "Oh no, that's it, I'm giving up."
Yeah. I've heard riders say like they've literally crashed and put their hands over their head to protect their helmet because they didn't want it to go down. Yeah. Like
yeah. Okay. Right, cheers for that one, Youngie. Who else do we have? Jack Dino Wood. Question for both of us. There's a trend towards black, silver, grey, monotone colours that we see with the off-the-shelf helmets today. It seems to follow sorry, what was that? Oh yeah, seems to follow a habit of people buying boring coloured cars. Does this disappoint either of you? Well, I suppose for you.
Well, going through when we were doing transport design, a lot of the time the car colours are influenced by fashion colours.
Oh, right.
And that feeds through. And I think probably more so with the helmets, the distributors who are importing them to sell them are looking for something that will suit a larger audience.
Yeah.
So if you go monochrome, there's less to be disagreeable with, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you look at, say for instance, Shoei and Arai, there's some of the designs that you can get in Japan that you just can't get over here.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, there's quite a few that are individual to different countries and stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You won't get over here, so yeah.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I just don't bother looking at the paint jobs anymore. I used to, but now I just now I don't. I look at the lid, the shape of the lid, and then in my mind I'm thinking I'll have that painted up. And obviously I've never done it, but in my mind I'm thinking that's a cool. Like, I love the look of the Peak just because it fits the big adventure bikes, but at the same extent, when you're careering around the track on a sports bike with a Peak lid, the same thing, it makes people go, what What's going on there?
Does it not like? Because I've never been on a road bike with a peak, so
No, I don't.
I know they've put loads of vents in it to try and let the air through. But does it not like if you look round, does it not catch the air? And
I've never noticed it. The Shoei, the Hornet, is the only peaked lid I've worn so far. I've got an LS2 Pioneer Evo, the new peaked lid that they've launched. I've got one of them to try, but I've not worn it on the bike yet. And I know a lot of people have said that about the peak lids. They notice a lot of wind resistance to it, but I've never noticed that. Maybe I've got a tree of a neck, I don't know, but I've never noticed that. Like even on a private closed road, obviously, you can max a GS out almost 140 mile an hour, and it's fine. The wind just passes through the peak, no problem. I don't know.
Shows a good design, I suppose. Doesn't it?
definitely, yeah. But I've got mates who've had the Arahai one, and they've said they've noticed the peak vibrates a lot at high speed.
Fluttering.
Yeah, but I've never noticed that with the Hornet. Yeah. He has a second part to this one. Jacques also asked, I recently switched my loyalty from Shark to Icon because of the lack of colourful character. I'll save my pennies to give Ruroc a go too. Do you do much work with Icon?
I've just got so Sports Bike Shop sent me one, an Icon Airflight, which I did do like a little strip down video on. That's it. Oh. Getting a bit dusty now.
Yeah.
But I did a little strip down video because I wanted to show a bit more about. I mean, there's a lot of people doing helmet reviews, but I wanted to go in depth into how the vents were made and how they work and the materials that are being used. So it's kind of probably boring for the majority of the people, but if you wanted something really, really in depth, it kind of covers that. And I'm going to obviously do all the other brands and things. But so they sent me that Icon, and I put it in the video as to it's up to my subscribers to leave a comment what they think I should do with it. So we're building up a bit of an idea of a design now, off general comments. I'll do a follow up video of the paintwork and then get it out. But Icon's designs are just like, they're mad. I mean, they've just done a burger helmet themselves that just looks crazy. But they don't. They're very much aimed towards the American market, and they don't have that whole race scene. I don't think they're quite the same. A lot of the stuff we have over here that's colourful is a replica of a race helmet, like GP helmets and stuff. So, yeah. What
about Ruroc? Have you looked at the Ruroc lids? Because they're pretty.
They look really smart. And I've heard a lot of positive changes to the. Is it the 2.0 they've called it?
The Atlas 2.0. That's the one.
The Atlas 2.0.
That's the one I've got. Yeah. It's a brilliant lid, but just noisy.
I think they've just almost done too good a job because the popularity is exceeding their supply chain a bit. And that's the only. But I mean, that's just it's a shame, but I'm sure it'll come round.
I think.
But it's like don't they say about Disneyland when they opened it up, none of the rides worked. So look where that is now. So
it is a shame because they launched that Atlas 2 with they got in touch with loads of us. I hate to use these influencers, loads of us that are on Instagram and across social media and YouTube and stuff, and they gave loads of us free lids and then said, right, run this competition, just tag, do all the usual stuff, follow all that, and we will give away lids to your winners. So everyone did that. But the demand, as soon as they launched the lids, I think 27th of Feb, the demand was unprecedented. And it totally caught them off guard. So straight away they didn't have enough helmets made to ship out to all the orders. And then COVID hit. And the supply chain just fell apart. And
they did a massive social media marketing campaign. Because every time I was on Facebook or Instagram, there was a Ruroc advert popping up. So they were really pushing them. I guess they did too good a job in some ways, Joe.
Yeah, I think I can understand why, because they're a very, very what's the word? Iconic look. There's individual look. There's no other lid out there that looks like that. It looks the bollocks.
Do you remind me do you remember the old BMW grills with the little little kidney
the
bowl
sides?
thing? It just reminds me of that for some reason.
Yeah,
but they are quite unique.
That'll be a cool lid to get a paint job on, actually, because it's got all those prominent features on it. It's just a shame it's so loud. It's just a loud lid. But then, as soon as you put earplugs in, you're okay. It's fine. But
it's lightweight, isn't it? Apparently, it's really light. Yeah. So you're trading off a bit.
That's exactly what they said. Yeah, in order
thickness and weight to noise.
Yeah, and to get the ventilation that it's got, it's got those big prominent vents at the side, but the air is channeled straight underneath your ear, basically. So it's they're good looking lids. What else do we have here? Oh, Jacques got a side question. Does Phil find that custom commissions are more reserved and toned down, or the total opposite?
I think they vary, really. Sometimes they're a lot further than what the race helmets go.
Are they?
A lot of the time in the race helmets you're working around sponsors, so there's areas you just can't really do much with, and the difficulty with them is to do a design where the sponsor's on there and represented at like the size and colours they want, but it's built into the design of the helmet, so it doesn't look like it's just been laid over the top.
Yeah,
I think that's the tricky bit with a race helmet. With a private helmet, it can be just someone who wants something very basic. Yeah. Quite a lot of the time it's can I just have a couple of stripes over the top and my name on the back, and then you get someone who wants. I get a lot of people asking for that Marvel DC Comics helmet. It just. My channel wasn't doing anything, and then I did that video, and I didn't really follow my channel. I was just kind of uploading stuff every month or every couple of months, and it must have just took off when I wasn't looking, because it just kind of the views just went up and up, and I was getting 2 or 3 emails a week asking for that helmet, and I haven't done a single one since. That's the only one.
Wow.
So. Maybe I've got another project in line that's like comic book themed again, so maybe that'll be another big hit. I don't know, bit of a laugh.
Well, you've got these things that take off, the trends that take off, certainly on YouTube. Grab hold of them and do as many of them as you can.
Best purchase I ever made, these lights.
What lights have you got?
I've got is it Newbie?
Or newer?
So I've got 4. Is it newer? 4 newer LEDs.
Yeah.
And I bought them because I did a photo shoot with a guy on one of the showy helmets, and he got all these LED lights out, and I was like, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Because it was all the lights I'd done prior to that made everything look yellow.
Yes,
and it just got all the colours popped out of this helmet, so I was like, I need to do that. And I set this up for doing like the video review stuff. And this has now become my little photo studio for the helmets now. It works really well. So.
It looks awesome, yeah. Where'd you get that done?
I made it.
What, you made the actual...
Yeah, so I got a sticker made, and then stuck it onto a piece of wood, and then cut it out. Or templated it, and then cut it out, and then put the sticker on, and then just spaced it off the wall and put some strip LED lights behind it. But it looks quite cool, doesn't it?
It looks mega.
Plywood and...
It looks awesome. Yeah, cool. I need to do something. I redid my office, but there's no theme to it. I've got no creative juice. I need to do something with it.
The Rurik video looked really pro. You had like the on air, was it, in the background, and
just there.
Yeah, looked good.
Yeah. I got those little strip LEDs like you're talking about, and you can change the colour of them. So I turned all the lights down really low, and I put a bit of work into that one. So it looks okay.
Yeah.
Cheers. Is there anything in particular you because obviously we're just chatting about helmets mostly here, but is there other stuff that you want to talk about? 'Cause I think most of the questions will be orientated around the helmet stuff.
One of the reasons I quite like watching your stuff is because of the travel aspect. Something I want to do a lot more of is get out on my bikes.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm a biker. That came way before the helmet painting. So
yeah.
I was actually looking on chicken strips.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, where's the Wales tour? I couldn't see the Wales tour anywhere because, funnily enough, I own a ZX7R, and it's only got 13,000 miles on it, and it is immaculate. So I'm like, I don't want to go touring on it. I don't want to put a load of miles on it, but I haven't seen all of Wales, so that would be a good starting point anyway. And then I was toying with getting something like a diversion, just like under 20,000 miles for 750 quid, and just going off and I don't know, just touring on it and not having to worry because it's worth nothing type thing. But then just recently, a friend of mine's offered me another ZX7R at a price I can't refuse, and it's only got like 14. I think it's got 14,000 kilometres on it because it was originally a German bike. So I'm going to own two now. So I might put the miles on the German one.
I need to redo the chicken strips site. I kind of got caught off guard with that, really, because originally there was the Welsh strips, there was the Scottish strips, and then I did the Spanish ones, and then I also used to do one called the Big One, which was a bit of an endurance ride, a 10-dayer. You got the ferry down to Santander or Bilbao, and then you did Picos, Pyrenees, right through southern France, Route Napoleon, into Switzerland, into Germany, Nürburgring, through Germany, back through Belgium, cross through France, and then home. So it was literally like a 10-day endurance ride. I did it once with some punters, and it was hard. You know, you're talking 300-400 miles a day, every day, no matter what the weather. And I just thought, I don't think there'll be a market for this. So I stopped doing it. But I still had it on the website for a while, and loads of people were then like, "Where's the big one? I want to do the big one." And you're like, "Oh, So and then I sort of just specialising in Spain, so I wasn't doing the Welsh or the UK stuff anymore.
I can tell you love Spain.
It's just because it's like everything you want as a biker. You know, it's amazing roads. Generally, unless I'm there, it's good weather. I turn up, it rains. The food's cheap, the beer's cheap, the people are friendly. It's a bike country, and the old Bill don't care. As long as you do it up in the mountains and you don't do it in the towns and villages, the old Bill are as good as gold. And you know, you get a lot for your money on these trips, and it's like, well, why go to France or Germany where the old Bill are cracking down on everything? It's like, just keep going to Spain.
Well, one of the things I was watching your Iron Butt Challenge. Is it called the Iron Butt Challenge?
It is, the RBLR 1000, Well,
we did. It's someone I know called John McAvoy who works. I think he works for Practical Sports Bike magazine now, but he used to work for Performance Bikes.
Okay.
And he runs a charity event called The Longest Day Up. I think originally it was the longest day down, but they decided it's better to go from Land's End up to John O'Groats. Right. Because when it's middle of the night, you're going through Scotland rather than getting traffic everywhere as you're coming down south. So we were looking for like a bike tour, me and my mate. We wanted to do some kind of a rally. Yeah. And I think, is it that Malimoto or someone did one, but you had to have a Cafe Racer, a retro bike, and so I couldn't do it. And right. And I said to him about this longest day up, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll do that. That sounds like a laugh." And you're supposed to have a £300 bike. And it's 24 hours to get from Land's End to John O'Groats on a £300 bike. But you're allowed to, once you've bought it, you're allowed to spend as much as you like making it roadworthy. So people are buying things in crates and having to build them to do it. Right. And because the support vans, obviously, John and like I drove it last year to help me mate out. I volunteered as one of the support drivers. Yeah. So they're not allowed on motorways because we couldn't pick them up. So it's like A roads on a £300 bike from Land's End to John O'Groats over 24 hours, and it was absolutely brilliant.
I bet it is.
So good.
Yeah.
It was. I was saying this to John the other day, like it was the struggle that made it good. Yeah. So there's a girl called Hayley Bell who did it, who was she organised. Have you ever heard of Women Riders World Relay?
Yeah.
Where they passed the baton around the world. She came up with that whole thing. She's the head of the organisation, I guess, or whatever. So she did it. And she did it on a GPZ 500. She hadn't even checked it over. And it was running on one cylinder at Land's End. Oh, no. And she set off at it. And she got up to like near Glasgow on one cylinder on this thing. It just kept going. And we kept hearing, Hayley's broken down. Joe, she's at such and such. And then just as we're getting close, she's got it going again. She's carrying on. Yeah. And we kept going. And there was a ferry across somewhere near Glasgow. I'm rubbish with place names, but there's this ferry, and she got on the ferry at one side, and by the time she got to the other, it stopped. It wasn't running. So she ended up getting back, and she jumped in my van, and then, we drove her all the way up, but it was. I think when she got it back, she actually stripped it down and had a look, and someone had used a car wash sponge as the air filter and things like that. It was an absolute wreck.
Brilliant.
But it was that kind of like the people at the back who we were with the support vans. We were just trying to fix it and just so they could carry on a bit more, and then it would break again. And eventually, a couple had to just give up and jump in. But it was my mate over the road, Pete. He did it in 24 hours 7 minutes.
Bloody
and
hell.
then we did it. We were 27 hours in the vans.
That's
non-stop
good effort.
driving.
Blimey.
It was a killer. Yeah.
Have you heard of Nathan Millward?
I don't think so.
Nathan rode a 110cc Australian postie bike from Sydney all the way back to the UK and then across the States.
He does postie bike tours now, doesn't he, I think?
He does. He started a thing called the Garbage Run, which was basically, initially, it was set up as something for people on small cc bikes to do exactly what you just said. The first one he did was Land's End to John O'Groats, and it was. I think they planned it as like a 10-day trip, and you'd camp out and do all the usual stuff. And he had the same thing. Like people, I think the first bike broke down before they even left Land's End, and it was just that adventure of the whole thing, rolling on and
just nursing him along,
and people coming together and getting each other back on the road, and it sounded awesome, sounded really, really good, because he's done. Sorry, go on.
I wish I was a vlogger for doing that longest day up, because it would have made such a good vlog to kind of document everything that was going on all the way.
Definitely.
The fastest guy was a guy called Simon Lee. Did it in 17 hours 10 minutes.
That's bloody good
roads
going.
all the way up. It is really good going.
That's
really
normally what I do. The RBLR 1000, the Iron Butt 1000. That's normally about what you can do it. You can do it in about 15 hours, but they don't like that because you've been speeding if you do it in that. So I think the minimum they'll let you come in at is about 17 and a half hours. So that's normally what you aim for, is just come in at that. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to say Simon was speeding. There was like a big incident, but nearly everyone who entered, we left the.
The camera's all frozen. You're coming back in now.
I can hear you.
Right, gotcha.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's you. You're back in the room.
So we were staying at like a Travelodge type place down near Land's End, and you came out like onto a roundabout, and you went onto what looked like a dual carriageway, but it wasn't a dual carriageway. So it looked like it should have been 60, but it was 50.
Right.
And I think because of everyone's eagerness at getting going, everyone comes out of the place, round the roundabout, and boots it, and nearly like loads of them got caught speeding. Not massively, but loads of them did. And then the guy, my mate, he was late getting out of the hotel, and I was worried what was that. I thought he'd overslept, so I'm knocking on the door, and he comes out, he's like, "Oh, there's no rush, we've got all day to do this." He's one of the few ones who didn't get caught because he didn't go with the pack. He went through at 50 miles an hour. So.
It's the old tortoise and the hare, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's definitely something I want to do. I want to do like a 125. I've chatted about it with like Lamb Chops and TMF and Richie Vida and that. Obviously, last year we did the bike versus planes type challenge vid. So we've talked about doing like a 125cc type thing, and I say, why don't we do an around the UK challenge ride? You know, not just Land's End to John O'Groats, but go right round the UK and like do it in teams. And then obviously I got chatting with Chris and Al at 44 Teeth, and it came up in conversation with them, and they were like, yeah, we're well up for it. So we could end up with like 3 or 4 different teams of us all racing each other on these 125s, whatever we can get hold of, and do it around the UK.
It'd be good if someone like Lex Moto or I don't know, Herald Mutts, one of those. I mean, the funny thing, I think if you're all on the same bikes, same capacity, you can have more fun on a smaller bike.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're all together. Because you're overtaking each other at 1 mile an hour and trying your best to just tuck everything in.
Absolutely, yeah.
To get past. So,
and you're going to have to be camping as well. It's like you're going to have to carry kit with you, and
it'd be hilarious. That would. Yeah, it'd be absolutely hilarious.
It's going to happen. It will happen. It's just a question of getting the stars to align, really.
Yeah. I think that's why you have so much fun when you're when I was 16 on my AR50.
Yeah.
I had so much fun on that bike, just because all my mates were on mopeds and scooters, and you're all in the same boat, and it's your first taste of freedom.
Yeah.
In fact, my 250 was good fun because you could wring its neck, and you're not really going too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And my mate had a GS 500, which was pretty similar, so we used to go around tearing around on them. And then I went from that to a Triumph T595, and I was like, from a 250 to 1,000, it just blew my mind. And I to have a bike that all of a sudden you could only full throttle it if you were putting it in a straight line type thing, it just seemed like, wow, this thing's fast.
Mate, I jumped on the GS today. I dropped off that Sinis terrain, and which literally I'd been just throttled to the stop for a week.
Yeah.
And you were doing 45.
Leave the car park on the back wheel.
I was in first gear, and it was simple things like the clutch. The clutch on my GS, you hardly need to let it out at all, and it's at the biting point and it's going. So I stalled as soon as I switched it on and I went to pull away. I stalled it straight away. First thing I did was I stalled the GS, and then pulling out of the factory into the car park, it felt like I was just going to career into the cars in front, because I was trying to get used to the throttle again, and then all the way as soon as I pulled out onto the main road, I almost wheelied the bloody GS because I just gave it too much throttle, and the front's like whap.
Talking them boxes as well. It's just going to take off from low RPM, isn't it?
I've nearly got through a podcast without mentioning the GS. That's your fault.
Well, the closest I've ever come to doing a tour on a bike was my dad took me on an R90, an old R90. We went down and did all the Normandy beaches and looked at all the D-Day stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the closest I've ever come to a tour. I remember coming back, we got the ferry across in the day, so we rode up towards Manchester at night, and most of the way on the motorway on the M6, I was awake worrying that my dad was going to fall asleep, and he was awake worrying that I was going to fall asleep. We were both completely knackered, but the fear of the other one dropping off was enough to keep us going. But yeah, it was quite something.
Oh mate, come away. We'll sort a trip out. We'll do Wales or go up to Scotland or something. Yeah. It's mega. Just hitting the road on the bike is just the best feeling in the world, especially when you're away for a couple of days. I appreciate you've got a busy schedule and stuff, but if we can fit it in, let's hit the road.
I'd quite like to go down. Joe, have you ever heard of the Mac Loop?
Yeah,
where the jets fly through. Yeah, so yeah. I'd love to go down there, go through the Mac Loop. There's a hotel that's right next to the lake at the end. Just at the end of that, where the valley that you come through. So maybe you'd stay there, and then I've done some work for some guys called Baffle Culture. If you've heard of them guys, that do cafe races and retro bikes down, and they're down in Cardiff. So I was like, I could go through the Mac Loop, get onto the coast road, and do the coast all the way down through Pembrokeshire and get round to Cardiff and go and see them guys as a halfway point, and then travel back up.
Do it, man. Do it. That Mac Loop's cool. That Mac Loop's crazy. I've got it on. Pretty sure I've got it on camera. When I was doing the, I think it's when I was doing the BMW R1250 Sport review. I think it was R1250R. Yeah. I'm coming through. It's a place called I think it's called Machynlleth, and that's the sort of southern part of the Mac Loop, and a couple of these great big, I don't know if they're Nimrods or the big massive military transporter planes, 2 or 3 of them, they're probably only about 200 or 300 feet above the ground, and they just came straight over the top, banking round. You're like, oh, that looks mega. Yeah. Mint. But at the top of that, the top of the Mac Loop is where you can go up on the top of the hill and look down in the valley and watch the jets come underneath you. That's the iconic bit to do that. But
you've been up, you've done the Dam Busters, Lady Lady Bower and that up our way, haven't you? And see where they practiced.
Yeah, it's mint, isn't it?
Every once in a while on an anniversary, they bring a Lancaster in through the valley low with a couple of Spitfires and things like that.
Wow.
I mean, I always miss it. I've never been, but I always see pictures and videos of it on YouTube. But
it's awesome to see those old like Second World War planes. When I used to in the old Bill working up in the centre of town, you know, for whenever they had the big anniversaries and things on, and you'd see the planes going up the Mall and stuff. It was awesome to be in London and hear that iconic noise of the Spitfires. Meant where I am in Kent, we have a lot of Spitfires. You know, you can pay and have the Spitfire Experience Day where you sit in the back and you get flown. Well, they fly all round here, so you can you can be out in the garden and you just hear that real iconic Spitfire Merlin engine. You're just like, oh man, that's amazing. My next door neighbour's like 90 odd years of age, and he was a kid during the Second World War in Peckham. He grew up in Peckham, and he's always telling us stories about being out in the street and watching the Spitfires dogfighting with the Messerschmitts, and it's crazy to hear the stories. Right, we've still got a couple other questions here, which will probably bring us back to the helmets.
Back to helmets.
Yeah, we'll carry on the travel. Don't worry. Fulcher Marks, my mate Mark. Question for Phil. Who's the most awkward rider you work with?
I can't really say who's the most awkward.
Drink more.
I would say you've got to remember sometimes like the riders are perfectionists in what they do, and that's why they're quick.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just their approach to everything. Everything has to be just so. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's awkwardness, but there is. Like the majority of the riders are absolute salt of the earth guys.
Yeah,
really, really are, and they're not like they're not big headed. They don't brag. There's no kind of like ego. Generally, they're just really nice, down to earth guys. And obviously, when you've got a lot of fans, they kind of enclose themselves in and keep to their close bunch of mates and stuff. But if you're in a group of people that they know, they're just they're really sound. I'd probably say some of my favourites that I would almost class them as friends is like I probably would class him as friend is Lee, because I've worked with Lee for years, and he's been a really, really good rider to work with. Taylor McKenzie and Taz McKenzie are absolutely the most down to earth pair of lads you'll ever meet.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't think they grew up round a GP paddock at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just so many have been so good.
Yeah. I was amazed, and a lot of people have commented on it with Peter Hickman. I mean, he's the only British racer that I've ever had a one-on-one with, and he was just such a down-to-earth, just chilled out bloke,
Yeah.
You can see why he's as good as he is on the road, because he looks like you could set his bollocks on fire and he wouldn't blink an eye. It'd just be like,
it's almost like they're so placid that what would have most of us shaking is just like it just gets them going, doesn't it, a bit?
Yeah. It's
I always remember when Guy Martin was always interviewed just getting off his bike. He normally talked quite slow and talked nonsense, unless he just got off his bike, and his speed he talked was like it's like a machine gun going off. Do you know what I mean? It was so rapid, and it's just because I think his mind has sped up to that speed of the bike.
Yeah.
And they just got him, and he's like,
Did you ever? He did a whole load of like adrenaline junkie type activities for some Channel 4 series, and he was paragliding with this guy, and he's strapped to the bloke while the bloke is paragliding away. And you could tell he was just bored out he's bored out his brain. And the guy's like trying to do loop the loops with him and trying to show him, this is amazing, this is what we do. Guy was just like, yeah, well, it's all right, isn't it? And I think they even had him linked up to a heart monitor, and then it was like it just 42 or something, it didn't move. Have you ever met Colin Edwards? He's the only other racer that I've ever actually met.
No, I've never met.
Have you not? He's another one.
I'd love to go see boot camp. That's awesome, that place.
It's like, I'll be sexist here. Obviously, it's woman heaven as well, but the term man heaven, it's just awesome.
Yeah.
Riding bikes, shooting guns, eating lots of meat and drinking. It's awesome. And he is as down to earth as you'd expect, like a Texan to be. You know, he's just the whole family are just really down to earth and really welcoming. And he was a cracking bloke. Right, Youngie5. I think we had another question from Youngie. Phil, I'm a huge fan of custom painted helmets and have a small collection. I love the feeling of collecting each lid I've done, but from a painter's point of view, do you get a buzz from seeing someone collect their very own custom design?
Oh, it's massive. It's because you're never going to get rich doing it. I don't think you will anyway. I'm sure there's some who have, like Troy Lee Designs has got obviously done well out of it. Part of the payment for me is seeing the handover, and if I can't be there, it's nice to get. I always try and get someone to take a video of the handover just so I can see what it's like when you give it to them, and that's another reason why you do what the customer wants, because if you don't, if you start doing your own thing, you don't get that reaction when they open it.
Yeah.
And generally as well, I don't show previews. Once we've done a design and I get painting on it, I don't show them anything.
Do you not? So there's no progress report? Wow.
No progress report. It's the finished thing.
Yeah.
Because it just gives it more impact.
Oh, definitely. God, yeah.
Yeah, there's one. I think my latest video was for a guy called Craig Watson, and he opens it, and it's the first time I've done this. I put the unveiling at the start of the video,
right?
Because I found when I had my intro, people were clicking off during the intro before they got to the paint bit. So I thought, what I'll do is I'll put the unveiling on, but just as he's going to take it out of the bag, black screen, but left the audio on, so you could hear him go.
Beautiful.
Wow. Yeah. So that hopefully that kind of stuff is going to keep my viewers going. But the reaction's it's priceless. Yeah,
definitely.
And it is like the pride and joy for so many people. It's. I mean, I've got one of Youngie's lids here. I've done one for him. It was
what, this Youngie?
Should I get it out? Yeah. I've
Have you?
done one for Youngie. Yeah, he's had lids off everyone. He's a collector. He's a proper collector.
Right.
He's got a room full of McGuinness replicas from Rich Art. He had a Michael Dunlop replica off Rage Designs. He's had this Mugen. I did him a Mugen John McGuinness replica. And again, it was signed by a Honda-san.
Wow.
We had I'll get it out of the cabinet here, because I've just lacquered in the signatures for him.
Has he seen this?
Yeah. He took it over to the TT
to
get it signed. So it just came back to get the signatures lacquered in so they don't rub off. But one of the things we did, I don't know whether you can see it there, the Mugen bike had, like, the fairing had this kind of rippling on the edge of the fairing.
Yeah.
So we mimicked it over to the X-Spirit 3 fins, just so it kind of fit with the bike even more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can see that.
See it?
Mint.
And that's John's signature there. And he wanted Simon wanted John's first TT win was on the Vimto 250, so he wanted like the Vimto colours for the top,
colours
with the Mugen design, and then this is Honda-san's signature on the side of it.
Wow.
So it's quite a cool lid.
Blimey.
So yeah, that'll be going off to him now. It's all lacquered in and finished.
Gonna have to come and see all these, Youngie. You're gonna have to come and see your lids.
Oh, you've got to see him. I mean, he doesn't always have just a replica. He's had things that are tributes to John's wins and things like that over the years. He's quite a big John McGuinness fan.
Everyone is,
also, aren't they? Yeah. He's had. I think it all started with a John Reynolds rep. He had a Rizzler Suzuki Gixxer. And because he had that, and John Reynolds was riding them at the time, he got a John Reynolds rep off a guy called Richard Stevens.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the start. I guess that was he caught the bug. But this is what I'm saying. Once you've had one, it's hard to go out in something that anyone could have bought. You know, you don't want to bump into someone with the same helmet. It just isn't cool, is it?
It's not though, is it? I mean, it's the same with. It's like even the like bikes. You know, says the man that rides a GS. Every man and his dog's got one, but everyone wants to try and personalise some bit of kit or the bike, even if it's a different can or anything.
Or even like your motor vlogging setup, Joe. How you have your mic, where you're putting your camera, how it all attaches is so personalised.
Yeah.
You know? So it's kind of only the same as that in a way.
Yeah, definitely. Right, another one here. I just had a quick look at that. Niall Wid, YWDT. Niall, I'm really sorry, mate. I can't pronounce his surname. If you could be any woman in the world for one day, who would you be, and what would be the first thing you'd do?
I was expecting a question like this from Pete, to be honest.
It's a bit lowbrow for Pete, that.
I don't know. I at the moment, I'd say probably the most inspirational woman that I know of is the New Zealand Prime Minister.
Oh,
she just seems like, just in a world that's going mad, seems like a decent person. Joe, we could do a few more people like that running countries, I think.
I feel such a bad
Not to get political.
person because that's not what I was thinking at all.
You were thinking something else. Have I gone a bit like...
Well, I feel such a horrible person now, I really do.
God, what were you thinking?
I'm not telling.
Come on, lower the tone. Lower it.
Well, I've already said on one of these podcasts that I'm in love with Noel Best. Do you know Black Rifle Coffee? Matt Best.
Yes,
I'm really... Matt, if you ever happen to see this, there's nothing personal, but your wife is stunningly beautiful. So I would like to be her. Well, actually, no, because then...
that's completely wrong, that is.
Yeah, I just thought about the actual practicalities of this. No.
You really don't want him watching this.
Yeah, I know I don't. No offence, Matt, but I don't want to be doing that with you, mate. God, yeah, okay.
I like your coffee, but I've got to draw a line.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I didn't think this through, did I? Right, okay, what woman would I be then? Let's take that out of the equation. What woman would I want to be? Oh, blimey. Do you know, it's not even something I've ever even contemplated.
Sue Perkins.
Sue Perkins. How good would that be?
The real Sue Perkins.
Yeah. Do you know they're trying to get Sue Perkins and Jason Statham? They're trying to get them on to like just do an intro for one of the vids.
They just need a soundbite off them, don't they?
How
so
cool
funny.
would that be? That would just be they'll do it. I'm sure they'll do it. God, Niall, I can't even think, mate, because it's totally thrown me. What was in my mind before, the actual practicalities of that are now hitting home. And I can't really think of anything else. So I'll come back to you on that now. Sorry. Right, Phil Bradbury. Who would you like to paint a helmet for? Oh, have we already covered this? Who would you like to paint a helmet for that you've not already done? I think we covered that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah, I'd say Joey Robert if I could.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Or Kevin Schwantz.
Oh, yeah, now there's one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got some cracking styles. I bet you could do a nice little
there's
twist on
pictures
that.
of me when I was, I think I was about 4 or 5, maybe a tiny bit older. And my brother, like I say, my oldest brother was into racing, so we had like some like waterproofs, and he cut the Pepsi logo off the can and sewn it onto my waterproofs, and got cardboard boxes and taped the cardboard between my frame and done like Pepsi sponsorship to make my little push bike look like a race bike. And yeah, so it goes quite a way back, the Kevin Schwantz thing.
Right. I've just been thrown here, Phil. Tom Sykes has commented. Is that the actual Tom Sykes? Tom 66 Sykes. It is.
I did say to him today that I was doing this because we've been working on design work all day, and I was like, I'm doing this thing this afternoon.
Yeah.
So,
I saw the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe that. Bloody hell. Right, Tom says, right, lad, we're going to go for a nice sunny morning ride out for a pot of tea and discuss the next Shark Helmets design.
Yeah.
You can select any
I did
bike from
respond
any
to
year.
that.
Oh, yeah, there is one.
Have you seen my
underneath it.
response?
Let me have a look. Yorkshire Tea or I'm not coming. Are you sponsored by Yorkshire Tea?
Since I saw that, I've been thinking, I can't go on a sports bike with him because he'd have finished his cup of tea before I've even set off. So,
yeah.
I think
so this is any bike from any
say,
year. What would it be?
Yeah, I would say me on an RD 350, but Tom on an RD 125, and then I could probably keep with him, hopefully, and have a cup of tea with him wherever we're going. And it would be a laugh because it'd be two strokes from the old days.
Nice.
Yeah,
you seem to have a thing. You got a thing for two strokes, don't you?
All the race bikes my brothers had have been two strokes. My first bike was a Bantam, was a two stroke BSA Bantam, and then I had the Kawasaki AR50, and then two TZR 250. So yeah, two strokes they're good. But
I need to have a shot.
You need to have a go on one.
Yeah. What is it? What is it? What is the sort of appeal of the two strokes? Then it seems to grab people that ride them.
It's like the 250 was like someone with a metal toolbox full of spanners shaking it until it hit the power band,
right?
And then it would just sink. It would just fire off,
right? And
that wasn't even by a lot of two-stroke standards. It was not well tuned or high performance, but it just, when them power bands kick in, the endorphins start popping. Yeah, it's amazing. You get such a buzz off it.
Best drug going.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Opposite to a GS.
Have you ridden one?
No, I haven't. No. I need to get onto Kate, don't I? See if I can get a test drive in.
Honestly, I'm surprised. I'm made up, but I'm surprised that she was poo-pooing it, and she's ridden one, and now I think she actually wants to get one now. So,
I could kind of tell watching your series and stuff. It was like, no, I don't need a GS. I'm gonna do it on my Jigsaw, but then I suppose you see the benefits when you've ridden one, and
I mean, I'm still happy and made up that I did it on the Jigsaw, and put me in that.
It's more of an achievement in some ways.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely, yeah. I've said this before. I'm a very stubborn character, so for people to turn round and say you'll never do it on that bike, well, then you're like, well, I bloody will, But to the same extent, I totally get the GS now because it does everything. It's comfortable. You can carry a lot more. I get it, and you're still going to have a pop at GS riders. You've got I have a pop at GS riders. You've got to do it.
Ed March does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
When he's on his C90. Yeah. I don't need a GS.
It's got to be done. Yeah, it has to be done. But no, for me, best bike in the world. Well, I love it. But there's still other bikes that I definitely want. Absolutely. What about you, Bet? Have we covered this? Have we had a chat about what would be your ultimate bike? Just if you could have any bike out there.
If I could ride any bike,
absolutely,
it would be the Honda RC166, the 6-cylinder 250 4-stroke, which is strange because it's a 4-stroke, but those things just, I think biking, it's not about how fast the bike goes necessarily, but it's how it makes you feel.
Absolutely.
So if it's got the sound, it's got the smell.
Yeah.
It just gives you a feeling. I think sometimes it can be that it's a time warp and riding it sends you back to another era. Or, I mean, that's why I've got the ZX7Rs, because when I was in high school, they would like pin-up bikes, them and Aprilia RS250s and stuff like that. So I wouldn't really want... all the modern stuff just all seems a bit too much the same for me at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I went on something like the latest ZX10, it would blow my mind. But... I don't know, sometimes I think, is it more fun having something like a supermoto and doing wheelies and stoppies and not going quite so fast but being a bit more silly with it?
Yeah, I think that's also a bit of age as well, because well, maybe not even age, but just experience on a bike, because to begin with, the novelty of the speed, the acceleration you get on a bike is phenomenal, isn't it? It's either going to scare the shit out of you and you won't ride.
You just want more and more, don't you?
Yeah, or it just draws you in, and that's I need to go quicker. I got to go quicker, and I think we're at the stage now where even like 600cc sports bikes, you're going to go to jail with the speed that they do. It's insane.
Yeah.
So it's dropping it down onto that little 125. You're never going to get done for speeding on that. But it was a buzz. It was such a thrill.
Yeah. And then you can just wring its neck everywhere.
Yeah. And then what you were saying there about it's the feeling, what the bike gives you in the experience of riding it. Well, I started riding Harleys, and like Harleys were even lower than GS's in my on my scope and in my sort of appreciation of bikes. And I totally get it now. I absolutely totally get it. You know, they're not the best mechanically. Sometimes they're not even the best looking, but there's something undeniable about what that bike makes you feel. That was two Harleys I've ridden, and both of them make you feel amazing when you're just sat chugging down the road. Yeah.
I mean, my dad obviously being into classic bikes all his life and stuff, and we've never really been a Harley family. No one's ever really liked them at all. My mum and dad went over to America and came back. This was when I was like a teenager, so we were left at home. They went off and had a holiday in America, came back, and my dad went, Harley Davidsons, you see them in America and you understand it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, they fit.
Yep.
Whereas over here they just, not quite so much. But if you've got a long open road and you've got miles and miles to chew and you're not going to be speeding, you want something like that.
Yeah.
So.
When the sun's out and it's one of those lovely warm days and you just sat on this blowing Milwaukee engine chugging down the road, you're like, life doesn't get better than this. But then when it's 8 degrees pissing down with rain, you're like, what am I doing on this? Get me off.
It'd be the first time I have to go around and clean all the chrome that I'd get fed up with it.
That's a good
Wiping
point.
it all down.
Yeah. I'm not renowned for my cleaning schedule by any shape or form.
All the GS needs is a bit of muck off and a jet wash. You're done.
Twice a year, whether it needs it or not. Yeah. Well, that's us done the Instagram questions. Are you all right for time? Because we've been at this for, well,
fine.
Geez, nearly 2.5 hours.
My night shift doesn't even start yet. So.
What are you cracking on tonight and doing some more work?
Yeah. I'll carry on after.
Are you? Bloody hell, man. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we go more into the travel side of thing? Because I know there's a lot more sort of travel that you want to do.
Yeah. I just want to get out and ride more. I think the thing is, I've worked on helmets for so long, and you get bored of the same music.
Yeah.
You can only watch the same TV show so often, and a lot of the time, stripping down a helmet. Like I say, I did 102 helmets in a year on my own.
Yeah.
That's a lot of taking helmets apart and together, and I don't need to even think about what I'm doing anymore. So, YouTube became like this kind of escape where I could put something on and watch something whilst I'm working.
Yeah.
So I think I racked up. I think I got to about 40 hours in a week last week of YouTube viewing.
Did you?
Just because it's always on, Joe. It's always on. So, Joe, obviously watching your channel, I know I've been watching 44 Teeth. Just anything I can find. If I can find something a bit strange that hasn't been discovered. In fact, like some of these podcasts you've done has introduced new people who I've not watched before.
Awesome.
And I've now been nailing their channels, Joe. Yeah. What's the guy called who did the American tour on VFR? I don't
Richie.
think he lives far away from me.
Richie
Vida.
Yeah, he's up your neck of woods.
He's only over the other side of is it over towards Matlock Way or something?
Yeah, he is that general direction. Yeah, definitely.
So he's only about an hour and a bit away. I think.
He's a lovely fella.
So I might have to meet up with him.
Yeah, definitely.
But, I met up with Andy Man Cam. He came over and did his UK tour.
Oh, you met him,
managed
did you?
to meet up with him. Yeah. So it's strange because you lot kind of start becoming celebrities to the watchers. Do you know what I mean? To the viewers, because that's all you're watching.
Yeah.
Even if the general public don't know who you are, because I've followed your world tour, you start becoming be ace to me, go on a ride with him, and so it's I'm like a bit of a fan of the whole YouTube motor vlogging thing.
Yeah.
And some just don't strike with me, and I don't really watch them, but some I get hooked on. I watch them over and over. I mean, obviously, owning a ZX7, that 44 teeth budget bike battle, I think half of the views on that is me just going round and round. Especially the dyno clips, because I just want to hear the bike again getting screamed on a dyno. So
they have struck upon such a golden formula with that budget bike battle, haven't they? Because it's a criticism. I'm lucky I don't get too much negativity on my channel, which is awesome. But I know people like TMF, he gets quite a bit of negativity because people saying you're constantly reviewing brand new bikes. Well, not everyone can afford a brand new bike, you know. Why don't you do you know, second hand bikes, smaller CC bikes, all this sort of stuff? Well, 44 Teeth have sort of just grabbed that, haven't they, in the budget bike battle. It's like you can't do it any better than what they're doing. Yeah. I
mean, I was thinking, I've got all the kit to do a mojo, like the mics and everything. I've never done it. I've put a camera on my helmet, but I've never recorded audio or talked.
Yeah.
And I think I got it all because I wanted to do it because I was watching it and enjoyed watching it so much. So I was like, maybe I should do it. And it'd probably be just for my own kind of amusement. But I thought, my dad's got a flat tank Norton from like 1920 odd, and I thought, I bet no one's ever done a moto vlog on a flat tank Norton.
Probably not.
It'd be quite, shifting the 3 gears it's got on the tank and stuff like that, and adjusting your advance on the levers and things like that.
Man.
It'd just be the most bizarre moto vlog going.
Oh God,
Wouldn't be very fast, but
do it.
Yeah.
Do it. You've got to start, haven't you? I mean, you have to start somewhere, and you've got a fantastic base with the PaintNation channel that you could even do it on that channel itself, or if you started up another channel, you've already got a community at PaintNation that you can direct towards.
Be interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, do it. Do it.
I need to get out on a ride. Next, if we go out, Joe, if you're up this way, I might strap the cameras on and give it a shot.
Okay, right, I'll give you a shout. Next time I'm coming up that neck of the woods, I'll give you a shout. I'll give you as much notice as I can. I'm trying not to do like rides around the UK at the moment, just because of
with the whole
with COVID.
Travel and COVID thing.
Yeah, it just wouldn't look good.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
It's not very responsible, is it? So,
no.
Well, for me personally, I just don't want to do that yet. But as soon as like the green light's given to crack on again, then I'll basically be living on the bike. So we'll come up and see you.
That'd be good.
Cool. Man, is there anything else you'd like to chat about?
Well, I could ask you questions all day long.
Fire on. Why not?
Yeah. I was actually thinking quite a lot about Japan. The crash in Japan. Yeah. Kind of like, what ran through your head at that moment? Because
almost my arse.
It was just like, I mean, that's what made it. That was one of the. It sounds strange, this, but that was one of the high points of the whole series. Was like, what's he gonna do? Joe, like, you're going through it with you as you watch it and thinking like, because I literally watched them in sequence, so I didn't know what was coming next. So to kind of see you crash and just think, oh no, why did you go ahead and?
Well, that bit there was the day before. I'd met up with this group of expat riders called the Gaijin Riders. Yeah. So I'd met up with them.
Yeah, they were showing you around, weren't they?
Yeah, and it happened to be their annual sort of family barbecue. So they all met at this campsite at the bottom of Mount Fuji, and online they just said to me, "Come here, meet us all here, and we're going to have a big get together. You're welcome to stay." So I did that, and during the evening, chatting with everyone, they were saying, "Where are you going next?" And my plan was literally to go from there to Motegi, because I was trying to do a lap of every MotoGP circuit. I mean, most of the time I never got anywhere near the circuit. I just got a picture outside it. But I was going to go and see if I could blag my way on, and then from there I was going to Tokyo and then sort my shipping out to leave Japan and fire on. So I'd only originally meant to spend, I think, 4 days or 5 days in Japan. It's insane. Looking back, it was insane. And a couple of the boys there had said, "Well, I'll tell you what, we know some great mountain roads on the way to Motegi from here. We'll take you down them tomorrow." Lovely job. So we got up and I left with these two lads, and they were rapid. Pardon me. They were proper quick, and I hadn't ridden with anyone in a long time, and I hadn't ridden in anger. Don't forget, I'd just done like 8,000 mile crossing Russia, and I hadn't ridden fast in a long time. So all of a sudden I'm out with them, and we're getting a lick on, and it's a load of fun. But the bike just didn't feel right. The bike felt weird, and I didn't know if that was just because I hadn't ridden quick for a while, or as it turns out I had 2 buckled wheels, but I didn't know that. So
were they already buckled before the crash?
Yeah.
Then?
Oh yeah. I buckled.
Right. Because you had it fixed after the crash, and then it's like almost like you noticed that the buckle was there. Because I think the wheel came later on. Was it when you got to America? You got the wheel fixed.
Yeah. I got a front wheel when I got to America, but the rear wheel was still buckled as well, I think.
All right.
Or was it? No, they replaced the front wheel. Yeah. We replaced the front wheel in Japan after the crash, but then once I got on the bike and started riding, it still didn't feel right, and that's when we figured out the rear wheel was buckled. So I had to ride with a rear buckled wheel basically 3/4 of the way around the world. So by the time I got to the States, I got a new rear wheel put on. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so I was out riding with these lads, and I was following them. We stopped for some fuel, and one of the chaps said to me, he said, well, why don't you go in front, because we're not turning off this road for a while. You go in front, I'll take your camera and I'll film you, because you won't have any footage of you riding a bike. So I thought, beautiful, yeah, let's do that. So we went off, and then it's my own fault. I just thought, I'm in Japan, I'm on a jigsaw, I've got to get my knee down in Japan. So they were all around these beautiful roads, and I was going quicker and quicker, you try to show off a little bit, don't you? And I wanted that shot of me loaded up, knee on the deck, going round the road. So we happened to come up to this bend, and I think I got on the gas because the bend was way up ahead. So I got on the gas, and I hit just this a wee bump in the road, and the front came up.
Yeah.
And by the time I'd rolled off the gas and went to like start braking to trail brake into the bend, the wheel must have been in the air, because the front wheel literally just locked because it was buckled. It just locked. So when it landed, I sort of went in a front wheel skid. So I came off the brakes, which pushed me wide straight into some gravel, and then I'm now thinking, crap, I've got to try and get around the bend, but I ended up target fixating on the crash barrier. And as soon as I touched the brakes, I'm on the gravel, and the front just went, and then it went on the grass, and that was it, end of. Yeah. So entirely my own fault, riding way above my ability, and that was that.
I think everyone can relate to that. Yeah. Or most bikers who've had a spill can relate to it. I mean, I'm quite lucky to have quite a few mates who are into bikes at the moment, which is something I never really had. And then my little lad started primary school, and I always said, I'm never going to be mates with someone just because my kid goes to the same school as them.
Right.
Joe, it's that they'd have to have something in common.
Yeah.
It just so happens that, like, Joe, 2 of them are bikers.
Right.
So we started going out, and they knew a couple of others. So we've got a little group of like 5 of us who go out riding together. And the first time I went out with Neil, he didn't really know me, and I was like, yeah, we'll go out. And we went up into the hills going towards Buxton. And I just hit this bit of gravel, and it must have looked like I was a lunatic or something, because I just got on the twisty bits, and I opened it up, tipped it into this corner, and then it just went.
Oh
gone.
No!
I didn't even know what happened. I'd never lost the front end. I think I was doing about 40, but I'd never lost the front end without realising something was going to happen. It was well within its grip limits.
Yeah.
It just suddenly went, and I went tumbling down the road. Yeah. But it gave me an excuse to get another lid and paint it. So.
But how were you after that crash? Because I find it's the accidents that you can't quite explain. They're the ones that really stay with me, and I'm just like, I don't understand why I crashed there. What happened?
Because I know it's gravel, and I knew I wouldn't, even if I was looking for it, I don't think I would have seen it, because it was literally the same colour as the road, apart from the skid mark, which had moved it. I could then see where it was.
Right.
But where it was undisturbed, it was the same colour.
Right.
The thing I'd kind of take away from it was, because I tumbled onto the wrong side of the road, and if there was a car coming, that would have probably been me done. So I kind of think, do you know what? I've ridden for years and years and years, and I've never had a bad accident, and this was like the first one, so that's a good sign. And I walked away from it, and I was lucky enough not to hit a car, so another good sign. The only thing that's happened was I hung on to it even as it was going down on its side, and I think what's happened is the bar hit the ground and it ripped the handlebar out my right wrist, and it's damaged my wrist. So I struggle with my movement in my right wrist.
Oh, bloody hell.
You know, about a year and a half it's been like that. It's not got any better, so I can't do press ups anymore because I can't get it to go kind of back enough.
Yes, that's my reason. That's the reason I don't do press ups. Yeah. I must have done something to my stomach as well, because I struggle with sit ups for some reason. But you know, things like that for me when I was on the road, that crash just, like I said, I was only going to spend 4 days in Japan. I ended up spending nearly 4 weeks, because that crash then led me to meet Pete and his family, and I lived with them for 3 weeks. You know, whilst we
got the bike fixed up.
Yeah, and then through Pete, I ended up meeting a whole load more of the expat community, and Akiko, his Japanese wife, I ended up meeting her family as well, and his brother that had all moved over there and their families, and you know,
if you're ever going to need bits for a Suzuki, though, you did it in the right country, didn't you?
You would think so, but it just so happened that period when I crashed was, I think it's either 2 weeks or a month. I think it's 2 weeks every year. The entire country shuts down. So all manufacturers, it's like, you know, in Italy they have that holiday, don't they, where, is it around about September or something, where everything stops? Well,
I find that strange. I've only just come round to realising that, because Shark helmets shut through August in France, and then apparently like Dainese and AGV do the same.
Yeah,
it's shut for the summer holidays.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It's like a multinational, international company can just stop. Yeah. So that's what Suzuki did, and I was literally like in Japan on a Gixxer, and I couldn't get parts for it, so I had to wait. For the factories to come back online,
to open up again.
It was nuts. Yeah, but it turned out to be one of the highlights of the whole trip. So. Yeah, mega.
Well, it's a highlight of the video, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's what made like the 44 Teeth videos. The early one was the good one, because they had issues along the way, and when they did like the which one was it, the budget by Italia, and it just missed that whole run up, the preparation part of the series. So that the latest one with these track bikes, where they've had a bit of a struggle with them again, has been kind of better for me to watch. I've enjoyed it a bit more.
You relate to something more, don't you? It's relatable. It's the human aspect of it. Nobody wants to see something go fantastically well from start to finish. They want a bit of drama. They want a bit of emotion in there, don't they?
Yeah.
And I've said before,
I mean, it's like Top Gear purposely write it into that stuff, don't they?
Absolutely.
So it's all fake kind of drama, but they add drama to make it interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It was something that was said to me before I went. Someone said to me, when you're filming stuff, the times when you least want to turn the camera on and talk to the camera, they said that is the time when you have to turn it on. And it's absolutely true. It really is true. Because I didn't stick to that religiously, and it's the times that I haven't got on camera that I remember, that I look back and think, you
wish you'd
idiot, why didn't you have the camera on for that? But live and learn.
There's a bit in that Lyndon Poskett's Dakar series where he's so exhausted he's in tears, Joe, on camera, and that's the bit that makes you realise how much of a struggle it is physically and mentally to get through that event. Joe, to see someone like him who's, I mean, to travel the world, he's mentally and physically strong, and he was really struggling.
I would love to get Lyndon on here to have a chat with him. I just think that would be just captivating, really, to chat to him about his experiences traveling. I mean, undeniably he's a very focused and an almost stubborn individual, isn't he? You know, he's one of these people. I think that if you tell him he can't do something, then he bloody well will. If it's what he wants to do, he'll do it. Yeah, that was the Mali Dakar, wasn't it? The one where you have to be the first time you entered the Dakar. That's the one where you have to be entirely self-sufficient. You can have a crate carried on a support truck, but everything else you have to carry on the bike.
You have to do everything. Yeah.
That's nuts.
And there's only one. Is there 2 days for the factory guys where it's an endurance? They class it as the endurance stretch, where they've got 2 days and they have to do their own bike in the evening. And all the factory guys are asking the Malimoto guys how to do stuff, and they all don't know what they're doing, and it's such a struggle for them. But then Malimoto guys are doing it every night. It's crazy.
I had in my head before, and even when I was doing the Teapot World Trip, I had in my head Teapot 2. I'm going to go for the TT, and Teapot 3. I'm going to try the Dakar. I went and watched the TT and thought, I'm not even. I can't even contemplate that. It's just so way above my pay grade. It's frightening. And then I'd only ever gone off road on the Jigsaw on the World Trip. So when I actually went to Toro last year, December time, I did some off road on the Huskies with them. I was like, I ain't ever doing the Dakar. That's not happening. But have you met Vanessa, Girl on a Bike? Have you ever met her? She's on Instagram.
No, I don't think so.
Well,
it does ring a bell though. I've been watching Itchy Feet recently.
Oh yeah.
That was quite interesting because she's got caught out in South America, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, she's back
when the coronavirus thing hit.
Yeah, she's back in Holland now, I think. TMF knows her quite well, so he's chatted to her a few times now. Yeah, right. She's back. But Vanessa is hopefully going to be coming on the podcast, and part of her plan is she wants to try and go for the Dakar. So she had a massive car accident a few years ago, and it was sort of life changing. So she's set her sights on entering the Dakar now. So be interesting to chat to her.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, be good to see if she vlogs it. Going.
Yeah. What during the actual race?
Something like that. Yeah. If we can see.
Yeah.
I know Lyndon had a lot of trouble trying to get permission to get Joe to be allowed to video it.
Did he?
Because they sell like the TV rights and stuff, don't they? So you're not supposed to video and stuff. But I guess he got permission. So
so I'm really looking forward to chatting with Dario actually, because just the series is addictive, isn't it? It's the production work's fantastic, and then you see them sat in the 4x4 careering through the desert, and he's trying to edit and like almost throwing up because he's getting travel sick. That's crazy.
That's just what it was like on the longest day up, obviously. In the support van.
Absolutely.
Trying to keep up with bikes in a transporter.
Cool. Well, listen, man, that is almost 2 3/4 hours, believe it or not.
Yeah. Got a bit of editing today.
Well, the beauty of these is that generally, as long as the sound's good, and like we wear headphones, generally it's you cut the P break out in the middle, and that is about it. That's pretty much the editing. Bit of colour correction. That's it. So fingers crossed the audio will be good, and that'll be that. But
I think it should be.
Listen, Phil, I've really enjoyed it, Phil. This has been cracking, and I think there's loads more that we could chat about. So I'll come up and we'll hit the road, and we could do another one of these definitely.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Cool.
Be amazing. Get me out on a bike again.
Mate, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Like I say, I've never the furthest I've ever been on a bike was Birmingham on a Triumph.
Right, we're going to change that.
Because I've grown up on these 2-stroke race replica type things, doing cat and fiddle and back, and that is it. Just little the local bike roads and seeing how fast you can do them, and so there's a bit of me that regrets getting sports bikes now, and I think before I had kids and a missus, I should have had a Tourer. I should have been off exploring, and when I was able to, and now I'm a bit more tied down. I can't, so I'll have to wait until the kids are a bit older to go further afield. But Wales, I could do. I could definitely do Wales. Yeah, Scotland.
If you can stretch like a long weekend or something, we can fire up and do a bit of Scotland or nip across, do some Wales. Yeah,
You can have a go. You can jump on my second ZXR when I've got it. ZX7R when I've got it finished.
Right, you're on.
Take the two of them out.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Awesome, dude. Right, well, before we finish up, is there any plugs you want? Any shout outs you want to do? All over to you.
No, I think it's talking about the longest day up. That's something I wanted to probably mention because it's such a good event and for a good cause. Anyone who watches my videos and stuff will see all the kind of things I plug anyway, so they're all in the intro. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll put all the links. I'll put all the links to your social media and stuff in the show notes for the podcast, and then if you're watching the YouTube video, check out the description, and there'll be links to all Phil's social media platforms and things down there. And I'll also put a link. Is there a website for A Long Way Up as well?
I think they've got a Facebook page. I think the majority of the stuff goes to a Facebook page. So I'll send you some links to them.
Beautiful. I'll do that as well then, folks. So check that out as well if it's something that you fancy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
All right, mate. Thank you very much for chatting. I really do appreciate it. It's been lovely to finally meet you and have a good old chat.
Yeah. It's been awesome. And you've got my number, so just give us a ring anytime.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
We can always have another chat off the record.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll maybe be able to give you my proper. What was it? If you could be any woman, who would you be? Question.
Yeah. That was probably the funniest moment in the whole thing.
I didn't think that through at all, did I? Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, folks. Cool. I hope you've enjoyed this one, folks. If you listen to the podcast, the video will be coming out the following Monday on the YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out and smash that subscribe button. If you listen to the podcast, please leave some sort of review on whichever platform you're listening to. It is a massive help. Huge thanks to Phil for coming on. Thank you very much, mate. I've really enjoyed it. Folks, keep on keeping on, keep doing your thing. As always, look after those that you love. But most importantly, get on out there and live your life. Woo-ha!